always have.
Okay, all right. It's actually a couple minutes after 7:02. So we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. Thank you all for being here. Big night tonight. Got a lot of things going on, including recognizing our retiring teachers and things, which is always a fun night. So welcome to our regular school board meeting on Monday, May 19th, 2025. I'll have Mrs. Clark will take roll call for us. Our superintendent, Dr. Hanson, is going to be a little bit late tonight, so he'll be coming along later. And first on the agenda would be the approval of the consent agenda items listed below, which include the approval of minutes from the regular school board meeting on April 21st of 2025, the special board meeting on April 25th of 2025, the board reorganizational meeting on April 28th of 2025, the special school board meeting on April 30th of 2025, the closed session meeting April 30th, 2025, the board academy meeting on May 5th of 2025. And then the payment of bills, the employee resignations, the professional teacher contracts, the athletic co-curricular instructional leadership hires, and the alternative open enrollment application. All those things were embedded for us, so if there's anything that anybody needs drawn out for discussion, if not, I would look for a motion to approve all those items I listed.
So moved.
A motion by Teresa, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. And then, okay. The next thing would be the communication with the public. I'm assuming we have some signed up out there. So before we get started, I do need to read a statement. The board will now entertain public comments for up to 30 minutes. Please note that if you wish to make or provide public comment to the board, you must register your intention to do so upon arrival at the meeting. You must be a district resident and are requested to preface your comments by an announcement of your name, address, and group affiliation if applicable. Public comments are limited to a total of 3 minutes in length per individual. When your time is up, I will remind you that your time is over and you should conclude your remarks. Participants must direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. No person may address or question board members individually. Please note that certain subjects are not appropriate for public comment. Comments that are personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or otherwise inappropriate are not permitted. If you make such comments, I will interrupt you and admonish you to refrain from doing so. If you persist in doing so, I will advise you that your time is over and you will not be permitted to offer further comments. All participants are encouraged to ensure that all information offered is truthful and honest. False statements and stigmatizing charges may subject the individual making such statements to legal repercussions, including but not limited to defamation claims. In addition, please note that our board has adopted certain policies regarding district management and the roles of the board and the administration play in managing the district. Therefore, please understand that you may be referred to other district officials. It is apparent from your comments that you have not brought your concern to the attention of the right district personnel so that you can receive the assistance that you need. Finally, please remember that I will be managing this public comment portion of the meeting so that we can meet the objectives I have mentioned in this introduction. All right, so we have, looks like about 5 people signed up tonight, and the first one would be Kelly Hodgson-Klein. Dr. Klein.
Hello?
Just off.
Oh, just not, okay. For the record, I'm Kelly Hodgson-Klein. My address is 17879 Interior Road. I'm a former band mom. I've had 2 kids graduate from our band program. I've been a band volunteer, and I'm here to talk about our high school bands. I've sent you all an email earlier today. I hope you had time to review it. This conversation was started, and I'm going to keep it brief because most of it was, I mentioned what I wanted to talk about in the letter I sent you. But after a conversation with James Newland, because he works in the building next to me, we were talking about the need to expand our band program. We right now have 3 band teachers in the band program. Katie Verhoda is our 6th and 7th grade band teacher. Jennifer Schroffnagel covers both 8th grade band and the lower concert band as well as marching band with Mr. Knepker, Alex Knepker, who's at the high school as well. So there's 1.5 band teachers at both schools. I gave you a graph. I have a hard copy if anybody would like it. We are quickly outgrowing our staff patterns for it. I know the teachers have gone to administration to talk about proposals for increasing our band. I won't belabor the issue. I know Jenny Kilpatrick will talk about it as well, but band is really one of the shining crown jewels of our district. We go head to head with places like Holman, West Salem, and Onalaska for quality of our band. I gave you some data earlier on that kids in band have a higher attendance rate compared to non-music students. They have a higher graduation rate. They tend to do better in school. But it is also a place where kids learn to emotionally self-regulate. It is a safe place for neurodivergent kids, for LGBTQ students as well. Kids find a home in band. Kids do well in band. As a pediatrician, I know firsthand that band saves lives. It has been a lifeline for many of my patients. And I worry that we are at a critical juncture with our band program where we don't have enough teachers to offer the services our students need. Right now, middle school band has exploded in size since the COVID rebound. And we're at a place where we're losing our director for our jazz bands in the middle school level because Ms. Rahota can't stretch herself any thinner, and it's starting to affect her from a professional burnout, from a physical health standpoint. My own kid is here. She was in band. My other daughter was in band. I feel that this is a value that isn't just an elective. This is such a way to enrich so many kids in our district. And I really encourage the district as a whole to really look at staffing patterns and consider a fourth band director so that we can meet these growing needs. Because band only continues to grow in our district, and that's a good problem to have. But as we're looking at staff, that's what I'd like to talk about. So thank you for cutting me off. I could talk on about this forever.
Good, thank you. Okay, next we have, is it Janina? I'm sorry, Jenny. It is Jenny, okay. Yeah. Jenny Kilpatrick.
Hello, Jenny Kilpatrick, 27561 County Highway 88, Tomah. As Dr. Klein had mentioned, I would like to speak on the same thing, but on a perspective of she's had kids that have graduated through the band program. I have a kid who's a 5th grader going into 6th grade, super excited to play French horn. I have an 8th grader going into 9th grade, was just at the high school parent meeting, who is also a French horn player. And it came to our attention that maybe all of you on this board do not know the things we're actually facing our students and the lack of staffing and how that is truly affecting their experience in the school. So as an 8th grade parent, I would like to tell you about the things that have happened this year. I don't know if you guys know, but 8th grade students do not get regular band lessons. End of discussion. There is no time. Our staff is stretched way too thin. Solo ensemble. My daughter is a very shy girl when it comes to doing her music, but she was really excited about maybe the other French horn player and her were gonna get the guts to go play together and do an ensemble. They were not allowed to do that this year. Not because the staff didn't want to help them. We have the most amazing music teachers in our district. There was simply zero time. There was one piece that they could play if they wanted to do a solo. There was no ensembles allowed free that they could get help with because the staff did not have time. Also, right now, for the last week, my daughter has been, they've been working on their marching music to go into the high school, working on what those parade songs are gonna be, which is really exciting, they don't want them high enough. And she's really freaked out, like 3/4 of the notes are really high, and she plays the marching horn, which is different than our French horn, during marching season. She emailed Ms. Schroffnagel for help. Ms. Schroffnagel unfortunately had to say, I do not have time to help you before the end of the school year. I do not fault Ms. Schroffnagel for that at all. But she is stretched so thin between the middle school and the high school and trying to help as many students as she can. My daughter's not able to get help that she's asking for. And she's just one of the students, and she loves band. She's been in jazz for 3 years. She's very excited about it going into high school, but these teachers are stretched so thin. And like Dr. Klein said, cognitive development is such an amazing thing through the band program. That they are doing multiple things, using both sides of their brain, reading music, playing with different tempos, keeping rhythm, adjusting their tune, listening to other instruments. It's such a unique thing that we're able to offer our students in our district. Enhanced academic performance, these kids are scoring higher in the tests, and like Dr. Klein said too, we are reaching these kids that aren't reached in other programs. So we want to continue to see those numbers grow like they have been, but they are not getting the support they need right now. I'm crushed as a mom who's got a kid coming into 6th grade that we are not gonna have a jazz program unless something changes at the middle school. For those of you that have been to the Big Band Bash, it is one of the big things that we look forward to a year now. We've been raising $13,000 a year for our jazz program, and now we're not even gonna have a middle school jazz band that's gonna play there. And these kids don't have that option in the middle school unless something changes, because Mr. Rhoda doesn't have the time. So I wanna thank you for the time and consideration of possibly a 4th band teacher.
Next we have Francis DeFreitas.
Francis DeFreitas, 421 North Street, here in Tomah. I actually don't have a program to teach tonight, but I wanted to come and talk to you guys about our workforce engagement that's on here and to attract and retain staff. Because as we're going through our transition season, there's a lot leaving, a lot burnout. I didn't come to last morning working because I was done. I needed to be at home because I was burnt out. The burnout and the stress, most of us are working 50 to 60 hours a week. A lot of it unpaid, not including all of the summer things we do. We need that administration support, and we even need, I know money is not gonna grow on trees. I know it's not gonna come out of thin air, especially with the current climate we're in. But something, even paying for those summer trainings, even paying more to give us those extra supports for these band students, because honestly, and all of them, because what would you do for less than minimum wage at your job? I mean, that's what we're asking, that's what's being asked of us, with all these extra duties and assignments. We're being asked to work more or less. So as we go into this season, and you guys just keep that at the forefront of your mind, because I want us, I don't care that we've done it for 20 years and not paid for it. It's time to change, it's time to change education. Let's be the first.
Next one signed up is Ryan DeFreitas.
All right, good evening. My name is Ryan DeFreitas, 421 North Street, Tomah, Wisconsin. I think I'm going to be an echo today for Dr. Klein and Jenny, I believe. So, good evening. I'm here today to speak to you about a truly wonderful program that is not this. It's the Tomah Middle School Jazz Band. You may have already seen the email sent out by Ms. Broda informing the parents that due to chronic stress and workload, she'll no longer be able to lead the jazz bands next school year. This is not only a loss for our students, but for their entire school and community. Let me begin with a simple question, not a huge story. May 9th, where were you guys? I was at the jazz, I forget what you call it, but they had a jazz presentation, and it was amazing. First time band dad, I guess you could say. And let me tell you what, I was truly impressed. You know, we all go to our kids' recitals and stuff, and you know, we applaud. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the skill that those children had was amazing. This is a completely voluntary program. These kids, these students, these band directors, they get up. They start this session at 7 in the morning. Almost every day of the week, they have these programs. And they're doing this out of passion for the students as well as the band directors. And I believe that this is grown. It started out as 30 students. Now I think we're over 100 for this program. I do not wish this program's success to also be its failure. It should not be punished. As many of you heard tonight, I do believe that we should look for a 4th band member to support this workload and prevent this burnout. This also goes back into what we also heard today, the teacher retention. We need to support all these people who are dedicated to our students in the system. Thank you.
All right, last one we have signed up tonight is Isabel Leeser. Sorry.
My name is Isabel Leeser, 825 Cedar Lane. Now, I'm currently in high school at I'm a junior, and my last day is tomorrow, and I'm walking the stage on Saturday. I have done this while taking 1 through 8 classes, doing AP honors classes, and WTC classes. I've done school to work. I've been on the high school girls varsity bowling team all 3 years, and I also did show fighter for 2 years. I also completed my first semester of junior English online. I've done all of this and come out on top by graduating a year early. Now, I come here today to make you guys aware of the situation. I've had a fight since day 1 to be able to graduate early. I've had a fight with the school to get my GPA calculated correctly. I've had a fight with this school to get my Laude score corrected. I haven't even been able to get any of the senior emails. I've had to have my friends text me what's going on with the seniors. I wouldn't even know when to get my cap and gown if it wasn't for my friend texting me, telling me what day to show up. Now, I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking that people who decide to graduate early and put on the extra stress to be, to be announced, to be recognized that they're graduating early. I mean, I've sacrificed more than I've gained at this point. I've been accepted to college to go in the fall. I've been a hardworking student at all A's, and I haven't gotten any recognition from school for what I'm doing. I'm proud of myself for what I'm doing. I just ask that for future students to be recognized, and for the 2, me and Vanessa Wagner, to be recognized as well.
All right, that is it for public comment. So next, we go into reports, and we have recognition of staff and students. And the first thing we have listed under there tonight is the Tomah School District Elementary Students Heritage Fair.
Engineer Bill, president, I almost said, that's one of my staff members. Principal, barely even a principal, much less president, but principal of Lawrence and Whiteville Elementary School. So families that are here, I know we have quite a few students, so students, if you'd like to come up, parents, you're welcome to come up with them if you want, but students that participated in the Heritage Fair, if you can come up and join me, because I'm nervous, I need your help. So. Don't need to be nervous. Well, thank you. Very nice. Jeez, I don't even get that at home. So again, Tim Janivko, I was in charge of the Regional Heritage Fair. So a little bit, you can see up on our screen, I'm going to read a few things off of there and then go from that point. So the presentations of our 4th grade Heritage Fair are focused on some aspect of Wisconsin state history. You're going to hear some of those here in just a minute from our students. But there's all kinds of topics that are covered, different areas of the state, different events that take place in the state, different famous people, lots of different things that the students can choose from. So on May 6th, we hosted the Regional Heritage Fair at St. Matthew's Church out by Warren's. There are some other schools besides Tomah School District in attendance, and those were Hillsborough, Lafarge, Norwalk, Ontario, Wilton, Richland Center, New Lisbon. Unfortunately, that has dropped quite a bit. I shared with a few people. We don't have as many schools in our region that are participating in this, which honestly is kind of sad, but we've continued to. All of our 4th graders have participated in it, and I think it's a really great experience for them. You'll see some pictures here in a minute that are pretty entertaining. I think the kids were well entertained. So Neil Genrich, who's a former Tomah area school district teacher, presented about the history of the fur trade in Wisconsin. He does an awesome job, and you'll see some pictures, like I said, in a second. He brings all kinds of artifacts from the past that the kids actually get hands-on and get to look at. So as you can see, our student participants, and I'm going to have them speak just really briefly here in just a moment, but at Camp Douglas we have Travis Gohl, we have LaGrange, Olivia Connor, Callan Pete, Harper Pluger, Lemon Wire, Lucas Gunn, Mason Rude, am I saying that right? Okay. Evelyn Allen, Gavin Habeck at Miller, Dalton Walworth out at Warren's, and at Wyville, Chloe Rutland Rowe. So before I go any further, let's give all these kiddos a round of applause. So to explain a little bit further, and then I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and tell you guys what they did their project on. If you guys wanna say a couple words about your project, you can, or if you just wanna say your name and what you did your project on, that'd be great. So all of those students actually won their classrooms our competition. So they had all the kids in their class presented things, and they were chosen as the best in their class, which is awesome. So they really earned their way here. When we get to the regional heritage fair, it's just about the experience. It's not judged. There they get to listen to each other's, which they don't get to hear from the other schools, and then from kids from other districts. So it's no longer a competition at that point, just hopefully a really great experience for them. So let's start, if you want to jump to the next screen. So I did share just a few pictures. So the one that's bottom left there is actually all of our Tomah school district kids that were there. They all were able to show up and participate, which was awesome. And then a couple of pictures from some of the students from our school district. I couldn't fit them all on here, but and then you can see in the bottom right hand corner again, that's Mr. Neil Genrich. Some of you know him, a former retired teacher. Again, he's all I think those are deerskin outfits, or I know he's made his material out of all natural things, and he's got a ton of artifacts that he shared with the kids. So really cool thing for them to get to see at the end too. So if you want to step up, Dalton, you want to go first? Sure. Okay, so I'm gonna have Dalton to share his name and then what he did his project on, and then if you want to share anything else you can, or you can leave it at that, okay? All right, go ahead, buddy.
My name is Dalton Loworth, and my Wisconsin Heritage Fair presentation was Wisconsin ice racing.
So, very cool, very unique. So, all right. You want to say anything more? No? Okay. All right, sounds good.
Can you
Step up there next.
if you would pull the microphone down?
Tim, just tip it down further, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
My name is Travis Gold, and my presentation for the Heritage Fair was Lake Winnebago. Hi, my name is Lucas Grun, and my Heritage Fair project was on Wisconsin Badger.
Wisconsin Badger? The Badger or the Badgers? The Badger State. Okay, all right.
My name is Talon Pete, and my presentation is about the Badger. My name is Olivia Connor, and I did the Black Compliment Chicken. My name is Chloe, and I did mine on cranberries.
Yeah, none of those are out here. So, again, if we could give them all a round of applause. Thank you, students and parents. Thank you for taking time tonight to bring them in and be recognized. I really appreciate you bringing them in tonight. It's a great opportunity for them to come in. I do want to commend these kiddos again before I step away. We all know how hard it is to speak in front of people. I mean, I pronounced myself as the president when I walked up here. So, so they did such an awesome job, not only in their classroom competition, but at the regional fair where they're presenting in front of other kids from other schools, other parents from other schools, and you know, it can be kind of a nerve-wracking thing, and they all did such an awesome job. Very, very proud of them as our Tomah School District students. So way to go. All right, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna echo Principal Tim Geneva. I don't know, it's really cool. I actually got to help judge it last year when they were in Lawrence and stuff, and it's really cool to see all the kids do it. And then, you know, some of the kids stand out and did a really good job, and they're here tonight. And again, yeah, thanks for coming and showing it to us. We love to see it here tonight, and parents for bringing them. So just, you know, thank you one more time. Okay, next on the agenda would be the Tomah High School Army Junior Reserve Officer Training Co-op, which is our junior, or our JRTC student leaders.
Thank you for getting that out of the way. It's quite the mouthful.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we're acronym friendly, but we'll break them down as we go through. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Colonel retired Troy Fox, and my counterpart, Master Sergeant Danny Centeno, is not here tonight because he's coaching JV baseball. But I am joined tonight by Cadet Captain Ryman and Cadet First Sergeant Patterson. These are our two top-ranking cadets within our program. So we'll talk a little bit more about what they did with service learning and how that differs between service learning and community community service here later after slide 2, but I'll take the overview if you don't mind, of what we're doing. So, yes. Okay, just as the board president said, the JROTC is the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps program that Tomah received, I think, or applied for about 7 years ago. And it finally had students this year, January 21st, we had about 61 or 68 that after the schedule switched out, that's what we ended up with. And so, if you're not aware, it's not a military-based program, even though I'm wearing a military uniform. It's a co-pay event ran by the school board or the school itself. But I also work for 3rd Recruiting Brigade out of Great Lakes, Illinois. I guess it's close to Chicago. But anyways, and so the whole premise of the program is to motivate young citizens or create better citizens. That's all it is. And with that, there's 4 different levels here in Tomah's footprint. There is 5 that we can do if we expand it to the 8th grade, but right now there's just 4. Let 1, which looks at the emerging leader, which looks at a student's how they lead themselves. There's a series of curriculum that kind of looks at that process, and then as you get into levels 2, 3, and 4, you start leading smaller groups to larger groups. And so it's all about creating an emerging leader that's confident and understands what it takes to lead, and then giving them the ability to start leading. That's what we're doing. Okay? And so right now we have 68 cadets. This year we had a truncated year. Normally a LET is a whole year, school year, but we truncated it down simply because time. So next year we're looking at about 85 cadets within the program. Ultimately, there is a requirement that we need to reach 10% of our school population, high school population, by the end of year 3. So this is actually year 0 for us. So we still have 3 more years to get that. It is a cadet-driven program in some aspects. It is shaped like a battalion. I'm not sure how many people know what a battalion is here, but a battalion has a lieutenant colonel as the leader, along with a sergeant major, and then there's usually 2 to 3 companies underneath, and then there's a series of platoons underneath that, then squads. Okay, that's your military lesson for the day. But with the 68 cadets this year, we formed a company size. So we have 1 company, hence the company leadership you see here. And then we have 3 platoons. Each platoon is a class. And so we're moving through the program at that pace. Next year we'll expand to 2 companies. So we'll have new LET 1s and LET 2s. We've been received well by the community. Thank you, everyone. With that, I say that because American Legion here in Tomah has taken us under their wing and helped us with not really fundraising, but sponsoring small tidbit financed items like name tags, alterations and such. And then we've also expanded out to Fort McCoy, where they're going to start mentoring our cadets as we start to grow and develop the program. So that means a cadet captain will have a cadet or a real captain sponsor. Okay, we'll talk about what is leadership, what are the problems they're dealing with, kind of just like a mentor. Not really a coach, that's my job, he'll be a mentor. And then Tomah Parks and Recreation has been great with us, helping us do wonderful things, especially with our service learning project, help us sponsor with that as well. Co-curricular activities, right now we don't have any. And so co-curricular activities, we have to have 2 next year. And so we chose Color Guard, which is who marches out on the field with flags, brings them to attention during the national anthem, and then returns after they're done. And then we've also applied to be a drone school, to where the cadet command is going to give us about $10,000 worth of drone equipment to start competing next year nationally with the other ROTC programs in the United States. And so the all Army competition actually takes place at the end of February, where if we get selected and win, we have enough points, they will fly us down to compete with the Army. And if we win Army, we go to all services next in South Carolina. So that's our goal. So that's all I have here. Any questions? Okay. So I will go to the next slide, please. We'll talk about service learning and versus community service. Service learning is the cadets have to generate the whole gamut of the event, from brainstorming, resourcing, coordinating, planning, executing, and then the most pinnacle part is the feedback loop in the end, so you don't make the same mistakes. And so, whereas community service, where Dr. Hanson is having an event, I show up, I pick up trash, and then I go home. That's the difference. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Cadet Ryman and Cadet Patterson to walk you through what they did.
Good evening, I'm Cadet Captain Marshall Ryman, and I'll just tell you a little bit about what we did during our first operation as GRTC unit. So basically we just started small. So we in class had a lesson about service learning, as Colonel Fox spoke about, and then we came up with ideas and we landed on cleaning up Winnebago Park, and we quickly named this this undertaking Operation Vago after the nickname of the park. So
you always have to have an operation. So, sorry, I influenced that one.
So that's what we. I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Patterson here, and she'll tell you a little bit about what each platoon did, which is the different classes, if you remember.
I'm Cadet Sergeant First Class Nadia Patterson. I'm a sophomore at Tomah High School. So this operation, the first platoon, they put up the new basketball goals and tighten the volleyball net at the park. The second platoon, they fixed the paint over the graffiti at the park. There was a lot of graffiti, so we just painted over it. And then the third platoon, it's like a shed, like the lunch table area. We paint over it, it's getting a little scratchy, so we painted over it. And doing this, it brought our cadets together, like leadership, teamwork, and collaboration. So that's what we got out of this. It was good. And after we had an after action review, so talk about what we did, what we did together, and how we could have done better.
So it's all about making the community better. Big thanks to Mr. Joe Protz, who helped sponsor all the paint and everything else. But it was a great event, and we continue to do it every year, finding ways to make the community better. So any questions you have?
Yeah, you're going here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, your after action, it's for these.
Oh.
Sorry, Colonel. After action report. What was it that you found that you could have done better, and what needed to be changed?
I have a part of what I thought. So something we saw a little bit was, so we had a decent amount of cadets that were very into their tasks and work that we gave them, and were able to enjoy themselves and just doing what they needed to do. And then we had a decent amount, a smaller amount, but still a few cadets that were more unfocused and just having a bit more of why are we here, what are we doing here, even though we spoke about it and briefed them a decent amount. But so I guess in our after action we realized that we can work to be a little bit more focused next time we decide to go out and help out.
It was a good thing to have.
Yeah.
What was a good thing?
Oh. A good thing that happened was we got the test done. Looks good.
Were you able to complete it?
Yeah, we did.
I think we met all of our objectives except we didn't paint half of one of the building due to time.
Oh, and the cadets wanted to plant trees, but we couldn't secure any trees, so that's understandable, so.
Anything else for Deb? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just gonna mention too, the Heritage Fair families, you can stay as long as you want. We have a fantastic, like, 3-hour meeting plan. You can go now, you can stay for the retiring faculty and get a cupcake, or whatever you want. So don't feel like you need to stay any longer than you're comfortable. So we're gonna move into retiring faculty recognition of service to the Tomah Area School District. We're gonna honor some of our retiring employees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board, appreciate it. This is an auspicious evening, amazing faculty retiring. We first want to turn our attention to those that are celebrating years of service. We'll highlight this tonight, and then at every in-service in August, we go through the list again. 30 years, Paul Potter, Sheila Butzler, Sharon Seeley, and Michelle Eswine. A big round of applause for our 30 years. Dan Briggs, Renee Bullen, Jennifer Eckelberg, Deb Lindberg, Heidi Tubbs, and Freddie Sorensen. Excuse me. And for 20 years of service, Manuela Kopieruska, Melissa Mulvaney, Tanya Seipel, Kendra Sullivan, Tamara Hartman, and Elizabeth Pinnacle. 20 years of service. This evening we pay our deepest respect and gratitude and thanks for our retiring faculty members. Each and every one has just played an incredible role in the education of our students, and each and every one can trace the success of those students for many, many generations, and looking forward to what they do. So each year we want to celebrate those that are retiring with certificates. And Jan Bloom, Jan, is she here? Yes? Yeah, Jan, you bet. I want to personally thank Jan. I always come over to the middle school and bother her with questions or things. Jan, thanks for helping me out in so many ways, like all of our faculty have. So we also have tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a principal or supervisor that'll say a few words as well. Jan, on behalf of the Tomah Area School District, back for you there. And I think this is the big one, everybody. It's an event pass, all access. So, Jan, thank you so much. Sir, appreciate it. What you do. And we'll have things with
Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Where they are, is that okay?
Yeah, that's probably
Okay.
not.
You guys, yeah, you get it.
Oh, yeah.
Speaker. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm not going to make eye contact with her, just because. So this may be the most difficult introduction I have ever made. Not because the words are hard to find, but because no words will ever really feel quite enough. In truth, she needs no introduction. She's the rock of our building, the steady presence through every change, challenge, and celebration. She's the one who keeps us moving forward, holds us together, and does it all with humility and heart. For 23 years, Mrs. Jan Bloom has been the beating heart of Tomah Middle School. She has shown up early, stayed late, remembered every detail, and done a million unseen things that most of us never even notice. Because she didn't do them for recognition. She would never want this, but she did it because she cares. She's the first face families see when they walk through our doors, the voice of calm during emergencies, and the fixer of everything from scheduling issues to lost lunches. When someone needed a sub at the last minute, she found one. When a parent called in a panic, she eased their mind. And when a student was upset or scared, she was there. And somehow, in the midst of all of that, she still found time to bring in a treat she just made up the night before, and find coverage for a class when someone had to leave unexpectedly, organize permission slips for field trips,
call in maintenance for the 100th time for our broken down copiers, organized fall rally, and so much more. Making sure each one of us was marked with, each one of these were marked with thoughtfulness and grace. She's also the reason every newsletter, email, and building-wide message looked flawless. Armed with her signature red pen, she could spot an extra space, a missing comma, or a misspelled name in an instant. She did it always with me. Her beautiful cursive handwriting is an absolute work of art that I will deeply miss. And her ability to write in shorthand is practically a lost language, one she used effortlessly, keeping us all moving without missing a beat. She is the kind of person who made us all better simply by being near her. And while we wish we could keep her forever, I do, we're also super excited for what lies ahead. She has adorable grandkids to snuggle and spoil. She has amazing sons to support, whether that means cheering them on during a marathon, babysitting, or rooting them from the sidelines at a baseball game. And she has Howard, her husband and teammate, who deserves to have her by his side every day, all day, after all the years she gave to all of us. So Jan, you are irreplaceable. Your legacy will echo through our building long after you leave. We love you. We will miss you. And please, please answer my calls.
Our next honoree for this evening is Susan Paulus.
Congratulations. Thank you for so many ways. Here's from the district, also from the... Thank you again.
All right. I did not prepare a speech. I'm not a person who likes to prepare speeches because I really don't like to read. So even if I wrote, I struggle. I've been working in the office for almost 16 years with Sue, and there are very few things that come to my mind that aren't joyful memories. Like any relationship, you're going to have hard times and you're going to have a lot of good times. And I have so many more good memories. My cell phone, I have her name in there as my backbone because every day I relied on her. She was truly a rock and somebody that was needed. So I am truly going to miss her. The things that she's been able to do and help me with throughout the years, I know she's not going to miss my singing. She's probably really excited to she's been able to put up with a lot of my quirks and the weird things that I do. So I only hope that the person that replaces her will be able to tolerate me as much as she was able to tolerate me for as long as she did. I also hope that maybe she'll come back in retirement and work as a sub. Paul's been working now for 16 years and no, it's not happening. She really hates my singing, so Sue, you're going to be missed. I really love you. Thank you so much.
Our next honoree, Catherine Lincoln. Yeah, you got absolutely do that. We're very excited to have Dennis in here as well. Dennis, come on up. Great to see you both. So, thank you again for all that you've done for the district.
Yeah.
So just like Jesse, I didn't really prepare a speech, but I do have some important points I'd like to make. First of all, they work in the custodial field. we're gonna lose two very valuable members of our district custodial and maintenance team. When you think about the Tomah Area School District and high quality student learning every child every day, we know the important role that our teachers play and our administration plays in how that works itself out. What a lot of times we don't realize is the important role that our support staff play. It takes a village to raise a child. It really does. And our support staff handles a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes. They are true servant leaders. They put the building, the students, and the staff ahead of themselves every single day. They have to. It's a selfless job, and they do it every day consistently. What I hope this brings you, retirement, is no more early mornings or late nights, or, Kathy, even on some days, both, right?
Yeah.
Even on some days, both. No more scraping gum off of places that you didn't put it. Right? No more cleaning up leaky toilets and sinks.
Yes.
That can now go to somebody else,
yep.
right? Also just want to say, you've had a lifetime of cleaning up messes that you all didn't make.
Yes.
Now I hope you can go home, relax, and make a few messes of it. I truly do. So the district will truly miss you. Kathy's worked at both LaGrange, Miller, and the high school, and Dennis has worked at Lemonwire and LaGrange, and their consistency will be irreplaceable. Thank you, guys.
Our next honoree this evening is Sherry Blount. Sherry, thank you so much for your service.
She's not here.
All right. And also honoring tonight, Elizabeth Edivold. Elizabeth.
We want to get off the tree. Good, I got my tattooed face. He's up again.
I know. I do write things down, just. I also have the privilege to recognize Betsy Edivold, who's retiring after 20 years at the Tomah Middle School. That's 2 decades of always putting others first. Throughout her time here, Betsy was known for her compassion and her willingness to keep learning and to keep growing. She faced challenges head on and never stopped trying to do what's best for her students. Her heart was always for her students, and her commitment to kids and families was real and unwavering. She was a quiet advocate, someone who genuinely cared about her students' well-being and worked hard to make sure they felt seen and they felt supported. She believed in her students, and she wanted others to believe in them too. Beyond the classroom, Betsy was a bright light in our staff community. As a member of the Spirit Committee, she made sure that before conferences started, we were always well fed and cared for. Her buffets were legendary and are legendary, and her efforts never went unnoticed. We say we want to contract her out for those spreads in the future. That's how great they are. So she was also the one who remembered the details, like birthdays and hard days and moments that mattered. Her thoughtfulness and kindness showed up in a simple card passed around or a word of encouragement at just the right time. At her core, Betsy has always been people-focused, and that's what made her and makes her such an important part of our family. She showed up and cared with really great food. So now, she heads into retirement to enjoy travel, right, and time with her grandbabies, a season that she has definitely earned. Betsy, thank you for your heart, the heart that you brought to our school. We wish you joy, rest, and beautiful adventures, as I know you have many planned. You'll always be a part of our family, always.
Our next honoree is Shelley Von Ruten. Shelley, thank you so much for your service.
I'm super excited to help everyone celebrate the years that Shelley has put in with the Tomah Area School District. She has been an incredibly special person in our building, not just because of her role, but because of her heart and dedication that she brings with her to her job every single day, to the people that she works with every single day. Shelley has spent years shaping lives in ways that go far beyond academics. She believes in students when it matters most. She always sees their potential and possibilities. She freely shares every bit of joy that she finds from them, which she sometimes, I think, digs for a little bit harder than it just shows up and it's beautiful. She pulls it out at just the right moment. She shares these little sparkly stories of wonder and joy and passion and fun. It keeps me smiling. She's always celebrating those wins. And she keeps laughing through the hard moments too, finding ways to enjoy even the tricky parts. It takes patience, creativity, and a whole lot of compassion to do the work she does. And Shelley brings all of that every day, day in and day out. Whether it was a small breakthrough or a major milestone, her support helps students grow not just in skills, but in confidence and independence, which were things she values very highly for her students. We will miss her warmth, wisdom, and unwavering belief in every child. We're also grateful for the lives she has touched and the legacy she leaves behind. Congratulations, Shelley. May retirement bring you the same joy and fulfillment you found and given to so many others.
Our next honoree tonight is Cheryl Schuster. Cheryl.
How do you get to sing? You guys get to sing? I don't drop it.
Come on now.
Hello. I'm so happy for you, Cheryl. Cheryl has worked with me at Oakdale Elementary for 3 years. We came in together, and I know I was wide-eyed, and Cheryl has been the calm. She has been the one to come in and see how things are in the office. She's so creative. The bulletin boards in our school, I think, are some of the best in the whole district. She is so kind. She has a nice word, a kind word for everybody. She's quiet and kind of shy. But as I've heard earlier, maybe it was the generation, she's an amazing baker and cook. It was not uncommon to get a text message the night before or a Sunday saying, I have leftover soup, bring some stuff, we'll have a potluck for lunch. So Cheryl, you make my days happy. I hope the rest of your days are as happy too. Congratulations. Thank you.
Our next honoree this evening is Deborah Granger. Deb.
That any better if I tried. Mrs. Granger, what are you going to do with all of your time? Deb Granger has been out at Camp Douglas and Oakdale this year, or the 3 years that I've been out there. In addition to being the interventionist at Camp Douglas and Oakdale, she's also the interventionist at St. Paul's and Queen of the Apostles. So her days were filled with many travels in town and back out of town because she was also part of our guiding coalition. At Camp Douglas in Oakdale, we have a limited staff, a very few number of people that help make the schools run. And in a small school, we hope for help from everyone. And as a member of the Camp Douglas and Oakdale staff, we have a book fair. And as we're starting to plan it, Deb would say, well, I'll do that, I'll take care of that. Okay, let's have an end of the year picnic. Okay. I have the games, I'll set up the games. I know how to do the food, I'll calculate the food, I'll go shopping for the food, and I will make sure we have the food we need. I'm also gonna set up a book exchange, and I will take care of that, nobody else has to worry about that. We're gonna have a school sing along. I know someone that could be Santa.
And he said no.
In addition to keeping us all very, very busy and taking care of the things that are so important outside of the normal educational things, Deb is an amazing educator, helping to make sure that our students that are struggling have exactly what they need to make the progress that they do. So thank you so much, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Our next honoree tonight is Kathy Stoker. Kathy, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Watch out, shake it. I'm gonna scoot a little bit around here. Crowd it a little bit. There we go.
All right. So, Mrs. Stoker is an alumnus of Tomah High School. She began her teaching career in Colorado at Pueblo South High School and Eagle Crest High School in Aurora. She then spent 28 impactful years at Brandon High School in Ortonville, Michigan, where she was recognized as the 2012 Teacher of the Year. For the past 11 years, she's been a vital part of us, our teaching staff here in our math department at Tomah High School, leaving a legacy that will be felt for years to come. Throughout her career, Mrs. Stoker has taught a wide range of courses in mathematics, history, including algebra, pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, STEM geometry, pre-calculus, calculus, intro to statistics, applied mathematics, and even U.S. History 1. Beyond the classroom, Mrs. Stoker has been a leader, a mentor, and a driving force behind countless activities. She founded the Brandon STEM Pathways Academy, served as math department chair for 10 years, and took on roles like vocational education director and school to work coordinator. She spent 15 years as a class sponsor, helping with everything from homecoming floats and dances to prom and graduation, and taught history. And even worked on the clock and book for basketball and wrestling, always stepping in wherever she was needed. As she heads into retirement, Mrs. Stoker looks forward to new adventures, rodeo, travel, and hopefully plenty of time somewhere warm. Kathy, thank you for your unwavering dedication, your passion for teaching, and positive impact that you've made on students. Congratulations on your certainly well-earned retirement.
Our next honoree tonight is Tamara Dvorak. Mrs. Dvorak. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your service.
Come on.
I've been with him a long time.
Yes. Oh, goodness.
Before he was even a principal.
That's right, there you go.
Yeah. I Joe a long time.
A little bit, a little bit.
Me again. So, Ms. Dvorak, Tammy's journey in education has been defined by her versatility, compassion, and willingness to step in wherever needed. She began as a long-term substitute in special education, serving in many of Tomah's elementary schools. She then worked at the middle school for 4 years before becoming an integral part of the high school. In 2011, Ms. Dvorak helped pioneer our brand new space at the time, the Alec Room. Kids love the Alec Room. It was the first staff member to help set it up and run it. We got to work pretty closely together as us and dean of students at the time. Leading the program for 6 years. In the years that followed, she supported students in multiple classrooms, with her last 8 years focused on the science department, where she became a trusted support for both staff and students. She worked really well collaborating with many of our teachers, helping to develop curriculum that really did impact all students. She tried to scaffold, do whatever she could to be able to help students no matter where they were, no matter what their background was, truly invested in every single one. Mrs. Dvorak also brought her passion and creativity outside of the classroom, serving as junior class and prom advisor. Now, as she shifts gears into retirement, and quite literally we say, Ms. Dvorak has big plans, learning how to rebuild a motor for her vintage vehicle, traveling across the U.S. with her husband and their dog, Jackie Chan, riding horses, visiting friends, and collecting junk for her next great project. It's safe to say retirement will just be full of adventure and curiosity, as her career has been this entire time. Ms. Dvorak, thank you for your years of service, support, and spirit. Congratulations on your certain role and retirement as well.
Our next honoree tonight is Kimberly Harkner. Kim, congratulations and thank you for your service.
So it's hard to sum up the impact of someone like Kim Harkner in a few words, so I'll try. After 24 years of dedication to Tomah Middle School, she's leaving behind some big shoes to fill. She began her journey here as our culture and Spanish teacher, and over time found her home in 6th grade science, where she transformed her classroom into a place of discovery. She believes that science is a subject of exploration, and she brought that spirit to life in every lesson that she taught. Her students didn't just learn facts. They asked questions, they tested ideas, and developed a true curiosity about the world around them. She made science meaningful, she made it engaging and real, and in doing so, inspired a love of learning that reached far beyond the classroom walls. Many students, including my son, were lucky enough to have her as their teacher, and I know I speak for many families when I say we're so very grateful for you. She also served as a valuable member of our BLT, which is Building Leadership Team. She represented her 6-1 team with thoughtfulness and integrity. Kim is a deep thinker, and she always approached new ideas and initiatives with one question at the center: is this what's best for students and staff? Her voice in those conversations was always grounded and very insightful. While we'll certainly miss her presence in our building, we're excited for the joyful next chapter that she has, being a full-time grandma and helping on the Cranberry Marsh. So Kim, thank you for your years of service, for your heart, for your steadfast presence. You've made a difference, one student, one day, one decision at a time. So thank you. Congratulations.
And tonight we also honor Vicki Horman. Vicki, congratulations. I just want to start with a few words of my own. Thank you for helping me with so many things tonight. We have you on tap for our long-range plan, but thanks again for just making sure that our books, our literacy opportunities are there for all kids. I appreciate you helping me when I came in to get things rolling too. So congratulations on behalf of the district, DPI. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Okay, no, you know what you're doing.
All right, Vicki. So Vicki and I joined the district together 17 years ago in 2008. She began her journey at the middle school and has since grown tremendously in her role. Vicki has been instrumental in providing relevant reading opportunities for our students at Tomah High School now, Tomah Middle School, and the Robert Cooper Learning Center. She has partnered with teachers to engage students with reading materials that complement their English classes. Vicki has also played a key role in the middle school Veterans Day program, creating the slideshow presentations that have been enjoyed for over a decade. Additionally, she initiated the weekly book bite, which started as an announcement that has since evolved into a weekly video sent to ELA teachers. Vicki also taught lessons to middle school students on a weekly basis, always finding ways to inspire even the most reluctant readers to discover a love for reading. She organized book fairs to motivate students by offering a wide selection of books they could explore for purchasing. Vicki consistently sought to provide access to learning and engage students with literature that aligned with their interests. And she made it a point to purchase books that allowed students to see themselves in the characters. Vicki, Paul also wanted me to let you know that he mentioned that he will miss your spirited debates on when to cull books from the stacks and what books to get to Cooper students. I don't know what that means.
Cooper is its own little space.
Vicki's husband has been retired from the military now for 10 plus years. Upon Vicki's retirement, they plan to do some well-awaited traveling together. Vicki, thank you for your years of service, support, and dedication, and ability to manage working with 3 different building principals at the same time. Congratulations on your retirement as well.
So we did have 5 other retirees that were not able to attend tonight. They included Lori Waltenbath, who was Tomah Middle School Food and Custodial Services. We had Martha Wilson, special ed certified aide at the high school. Sharon Call, is a special ed aide at LaGrange. Kay Richmond was a non-certified aide at LaGrange. And Janice Schmidt was a 5th grade teacher at Camp Douglas for us. So they also are all retiring but not able to make it here tonight. So any of you in the room looking for a job? Obviously most of them are very hard to replace, but thank you for coming here. Thank you to speakers for acknowledging it, and loved ones for being along. We're going to recess for about 15 minutes or so, try to get our meeting started back up no later than 8:30. But there's some cupcakes in the back, and you can all mingle a little bit and have a little bit of fun.
Mr. President,
yes.
Hey, would it be possible to have those that are in attendance here so we could shake their hand? I mean, I'm listening to all those things. We normally don't get through it because it's we, but I just wanted to see if we could get all the retirees up there so we could shake their hand. I'm listening to all the achievements.
They might as well take a picture first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We never did.
All right, we'll go ahead and end the recess part and get started again. So, I can find my spot. All right, retiring. All right, we got district strategic plan initiatives, and under that we have student achievement. Bring our students succeed each year in future post-secondary education and the career of their choice. Would be at this time would be the THS Student Council representative to the Board of Education, Ruby Joyce, but she is not able to make it tonight. So we'll move on. And next would be the 2024-2025 Tomah Area School District Literacy Report to the Board of Education by Jennifer Rasmussen from CISA 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jen, thank you so much for presenting this each year for us about how we're doing on the literacy front.
Absolutely. For those of you that don't know me, I am Jen Rasmussen. I'm the literacy specialist that serves the Tomah Area School District. This is my 6th year that I come to support Tomah with that, as well as being an instructional coach. I'm glad you invited me on such a night of celebration. So here we are celebrating the literacy report. Hopefully you had a chance to read through it. So if you had any questions, I'm here kind of to answer those. But I think the two big things to really uplift and talk about as we think about literacy within the district this past year is the fact that you took a big initiative of doing the high quality instructional materials. And in our kindergarten through high school levels, you adopted new materials, and then now teachers are really working on trying to get those implemented, which kind of coincides with all of the great work that you're doing with your PLC initiative as well, and working on your guaranteed viable curriculum. So as we continue to get better at understanding our guaranteed viable curriculum and then uplifting our resource that supports it, because we know that there's not one resource that's out there that is going to teach all kids, or all of us would already be using it. It's the idea that we try to look for the best fit for within a school district and then bring what we need to bring into those materials. So that's a big piece that we uplifted this year. And as you can see within the report, I also told you that it takes about 2 to 5 years, just like with anything with the science implementation, for full implementation to be there. So we got through year 1, things will continue to improve and get better as we go through each year. And then what complemented that was the Act 20 law that came along. And Act 20 was a very big lift across the entire state. And so I appreciated being here to help Tomah go through that whole piece of training their, I think we went through all of our K-5 teachers and anybody who worked with students that were at that age level in order to really understand the science of reading and the different components that were within Act 20, and then how do you bring those in and really fine tune what kids need. So when you think about some of the parts of the law, there's some certain requirements that we have to do that are really helping us move down the path of having a really strong multi-level system of support, and thinking about what is our screener doing to really fine tune getting down to that diagnostic level where we're looking at skill specifics. And so what students' discrete skills do we need to use? And so Act 20 has kind of helped us revision what literacy will look like at those lower grade levels. And instead of having an intervention that's broad, it's more fine-tuned. And so helping us think about that. And then at the same time, it's your classroom teachers looking at those discrete skills and figuring out where they are in the materials and figuring out your assessments. And so as you go into next year, thinking about the work that you're continuing to do within PLC and anchor statement number 3 and assessments, that's the next grade level piece that we're going to work on to kind of fine tune and uplift both your high quality instructional material piece, but at the same time your Act 20 components. So to me, those are the two very big rocks that you worked on as a district, and there was a lot of great movement going forward. And I think that as a board, you should be very proud of the work that the teachers have done from within to get those two pieces in place. So you had a chance to read some of the other things that I kind of have uplifted as some of the things that we really focused in on within the district, but I wanted to just open up for all of you to say, do you have any questions for me or things that I can kind of clarify within literacy?
Yeah, I just had because I know it's been quite a while, 5 or 6 years ago when we started with the reading, and now we had the advent of the Act 20. I guess I would be interested in the progress that was made prior to the Act 20. I mean, was it measurable, or how would you define that?
And the interesting thing with Act 20 is we're measuring it in a very different way than we measured in the past. And now we're looking at kids in a different way than we had been earlier. So when you're thinking about what you were measuring, are you thinking about measuring our approach with our curriculum? Or are you thinking of like the iReady? What particular?
Well, I was just wondering, prior to that, we had 2 or 3 years of a process.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, did that yield anything in that time frame? Even though you had to divert to the Act 20 and change the measurement, I understand that, but I was wondering on the old measurement, did you see progress?
So the work that I have been doing with literacy, particularly before Act 20 came along, I hadn't done as much at the elementary level. Most of my work had been done at the middle school level. And so the work of your guaranteed viable curriculum, identifying those essential standards, unwrapping them, getting it down to the target level, and then writing your assessments aligned to the targets has been something that the literacy team has been moved forward on. So I think if you were to ask some of the building principals, the English departments are a little bit further along than some of the other teams, simply because that was some of the work that I was working with them. So it's taking that pieces that the entire district is working on now and kind of marrying it all together.
Yeah, but I was wondering, because I know the middle school, and I guess my thought on it, if we don't get that in the early stages, then we're, our chances of success are minimalized, right?
Right, yes. Yes, and I think with Act 20 and the way we are starting to approach literacy, I really do believe that we're gonna start to see closing the gaps and really being able to fine tune exactly what kids need. Now, what we have to overcome is right now that our systems are flooded, and by that I mean we have a lot of kids that are in our Tier 3, which means that we have to reflect on our Tier 1. What are we doing with our core instruction so that we don't have as many kids in that kind of flipped pyramid?
Yeah, that's I don't.
And you're not the only district that, I mean, this is statewide, and this is across other states, so you're not alone in that. So I think that through Act 20, we're gonna be able to really pinpoint some of that and get after it. And I also think that through your PLC work, you're also gonna be able to flip some of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. What else?
It's fine.
You're gonna have to catch me up. I'm new to the state, new to this particular system. You said there's different ways that you measured before and different ways you measure now. What are those ways? What's the difference?
So previously, we would have been, that they were using different curriculum and different assessments within that. And then they moved into identifying their essential standards and really creating learning progressions and then assessments aligned to those learning targets, discrete skills to the standards. So they've made kind of a switch to being more standards driven, where previously we weren't standards driven, and so we were selecting things that we as teachers thought were best practices to now aligning them to the standards. So then what ended up happening is Act 20 came along, we're still aligning to standards, but now we're using the science of reading and thinking about those individual components, which is like our phonemic awareness and our phonics. And then fluency, but fluency isn't not just reading connected text, but fluency all the way down to the letter sound level, and how automatic are our kids with being able to see a letter and know a sound, to then putting those sounds together to make words, to make phrases, to make sentences, then into connected text. So we're looking at things through a different lens now, where we weren't measuring and looking at those components in the past. Does that make a little more sense?
Yes.
Any other direct questions for Jen? Cool. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, next would be the Tomah Administrative Leadership Team Summer 2025 calendar of events or activities.
Thank you so much. I just want to quick go through your leadership team runs June 5, starting with a kickoff for the our data dig, and then I want to thank Michelle and the entire team for putting together all of the work that goes into that. So we can move into CPI training. We have our regular administrative meetings, but all focusing in on our data digs. I'm going off some memory here because I got to pull this up real quick. I had a different one going. Just one moment, everybody. Okay, kicking off with June for our data dig. We've got curriculum writing set up into June 9 and 10, and also into June 11th. Our PLC institutes are set for June 16th and 18th. We'll also have faculty involved in those. Assessment conferences in June as well. And our behavior academies with selected administrators are getting into those solution tree behavior academies to start to build those out. So that's June, a lot going on there. Our summer school is ramping up July 1 through 14, so we have administrative staff going in on that. Our extended special education extended school year is also moving July 28 to August 14. July 28-30 is another PLC Institute, this one in Madison, so there's one in Minneapolis and one in Madison. We are also active with our guiding coalition, but our district-wide guiding coalition starting in August. And that starts to move us into additional CPI training and your new teacher in processing and onboarding, and our fall rallies at middle school, open houses at the high schools and elementary schools. Michelle's got her safety briefing and our other contracted work days, presentations during the week of 25th through the 28th, and then we kick off on the first day of school. So you really don't collapse a whole lot. Maybe in July, it starts to lighten up a little bit, and that's what we need. We do need that time off, but just with the administrative team leadership, along with a lot of other folks taking part in that, we just want to know what's going on. So it's 3 months. Bye.
I had a question for you. You know, we saw some resignations, like 9 in the guiding coalition. We had 11.
Yeah.
And where do they fall in that particular training to bring them up to?
If they'd like to go, they can. And so we can't send everybody all in one summer or all of those sessions, but Mrs. Kluger takes a look at who we can send, those 12 to 13 folks per session. So along their guiding coalition leadership journey, it's highly recommended. Many do go, and we try to get them in and we build into that. So we'll cycle through the GC members every 2 years. So you'll see those resignations and new ones come on. Just means we're changing up the structure of the GCs after a couple of years.
Well, yeah, and I guess that was the question I had. Do we do, is that internally? Do we bring them on board? Do we know what those requirements are?
There's interviews, there's writing an application sort of on that. So it's a very detailed process because we value it so much, and we want those to grow our new leaders in that space. And so it's great to say there are 65 new leaders in our district now through your work as a board approving those positions, and then the administrative team's work aligning the professional development to that. Again, I want to thank our principals and everyone.
Is it just overload that we consistently have people falling off of that guiding coalition leadership? Is it, are we finding there's
every
something?
2 years, we cycle out. So we have to separate a service when you have a position in the district, so that's why you're going to see those. So we're just cycling through. Is that what you mean, the resignations?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a time
2
thing.
years, and then we'll cycle new folks in. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just overwhelming. It's a lot there. Okay.
A lot going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thanks for drawing that to our attention. A lot of stuff for our administrators this summer still. All right, next would be service to the Tomah community, engaging parents and community members to increase student achievement and support for our school district. And under that, we have the acceptance of gifts of money and or materials.
We do want to thank each and every month all those that provide gifts for our students and helping them reach great, wonderful things in the curriculum and activities that they have. For the high school band, a $250 gift from Daryl Neitzel, or Neitzel, if I mispronounced that, my apologies, and Judith Borgi Neitzel. High School Positive Activity Fund, $2,500. That's a donation from the Green Bay Packers when they came through high school. And a gift of $5,810, Tomah Sports Booster donation for the high school, middle school gym scoreboard. So excellent donations this month.
All right, good stuff. I need a motion to accept those.
I'll make a motion to accept those.
I'll second.
Motion by Sue, second by Rick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. All All right, future focus, transform educational opportunities to ensure that the Tomah School District remains a school district of choice for students and families. And we'll start with the updated Tomah area school district library plan.
Thank you to Vicki, and I see Pauline's here too, and Blair Cleary, amazing library team that put this together. So I'll turn it over to you, Vicki. Thank you.
So every 5 years, we need to update, or is it 3 years? Every 3 years. It seems like just yesterday. We need to update our library plan. So I know you all have copies now, since I'm way far away from it. You'll see, if you look at past, we started with the district mission and vision, and then when you get to the next pages, that is the library framework that DPI, Wisconsin DPI suggests that we use. So we took out the pieces of the puzzle, and the pictures and the chunks, and those are, the first 2 rows are from that framework. We then created goals in each of those. However, Monica Treptow, who is the DPI librarian, said if you tried to do every single one of those pieces every year, you would not be able to do anything. So she said to actually pick out 3, and I'm pretty sure we ended up with 4 because we figured that 2 of them, like some of them were just so closely intertwined. So we're focusing on the ones that actually have strategic actions underneath those. With the first one being supporting the reading lives of students and staff. And I thought it was very appropriate that I was going to follow Jen Rasmussen's literacy report, because part of what helps students, once we've gone through the science of reading and phonics and everything, you need to have books that are at their level, a variety of books, the kinds they're going to be interested in, and that's part of supporting the reading lives of students and staff. So we, our goal, the developing library collections that reflect the cultural diversity of our district and global community is super, super important. You all know how diverse this school district is in so, so many ways. And we need our students to be able to see themselves in the books that they have to choose from. It's been a huge passion of both Pauline and myself to push that forward so that all of our students see themselves. Also, fostering the idea that our libraries are the hub of our schools, that if you need something, you want to know about something or read about something, find information on something, you can come there. And then having the curriculum empowering students. So we, to help with our diverse collection, some of our suppliers have really good tools that you can analyze your collection, see the age of certain sections of your collection. I know I think it was last year, Pauline and I both focused on our indigenous population books. We have a huge Ho-Chunk population in Tomah. Super important that we have updated materials on that, and it was we were not in a good place with our age levels, our age of those materials, so we upgraded those. Also, identifying the skills that students need in the library. Some of those have changed. Some of us remember having to use a dictionary and figuring out with the guide words how you're going to find that. And so as we set up our libraries, we have those guide letters. Our students in general don't use paper dictionaries or encyclopedias anymore. And we were like, oh, we need to fix that. Although I believe that our new curriculum starting in the elementary school actually goes back into some of the alphabet type, so it's going to hopefully cycle around. Working with those 2 things and making sure that we have what students need. I'm gonna have to go over there a little bit, unless Dr. Hansen's gonna, I think we're good on that. So that's the only piece that we're focusing on the first page. Then the next page is partnering with educators to help them in their curriculum. And this is another part that, as I was listening to Jen, I thought was really super important between the elementary curriculum. I don't know how much you guys have looked at the topics at the elementary level and middle school and high school, but
some of those elementary topics are not topics that elementary students and libraries tend to have information on. So we three have worked really hard trying to find grade level, reading level appropriate stuff that will fit, because when they learn about it in their class, they invariably come to the library and say, oh, I want a book on ancient Mesopotamia. And you're like, oh yeah, we haven't had that question before. So that's something that we've kind of been working at and will continue as we get more familiar with those new curriculum. So that's the first goal underneath that piece there. And then also using the print and digital resources that we have. We've gotten several different ones, and actually just in time for us to go, we've got some really cool audio and print books in one called Wonder Books that have the audio right on the front cover, where you just push play and they can listen to it as one thing. They don't have to have the book and the play away. It's actually that same company, and we're super excited, and we don't get to see them use it, but we're really excited to see our successors work with that. So our strategic actions in there are reviewing units of study in those ELA curriculum at the K-12 level, and making sure we have stuff, adding the items that we need to, both in print and digital. We found a really awesome resource where we can get ebooks that are unlimited simultaneous access. So all of our middle school students can have the same book open at the same time. And we got free paper copies of each one of the books that we bought. I bought those with an eye to student recreational reading, but also looking at the topics that my ELA staff needs for that new curriculum. So we were able to add some of those as well. And then on the bottom, we put providing opportunities for maker spaces as space, money, and time allows. This is a big deal and goes along with play and creative play and making things and being inventive and intuitive. And that's something that would be amazing and that we have talked about several times and not had the space and the money. And I know that Michelle has talked about if we want to start that. And so we put that in there as a hopefully we'll be able to get that in there. And then if we look at the third piece, that's our equitable access piece. And that actually, the robust infrastructure, dealing with our digital piece, we started this a lot 3 years ago, where we took all of our ebooks that were school individual, and we put them all on one platform, and then we are able to push them out to any school that they're appropriate for, so that a book that I might have purchased for the middle school, but is like a grades 3 through 5 book, now we have pushed out to the elementaries as well as the middle school. So that just gives all of our students, without spending money, more access to ebooks and audiobooks that would be appropriate for them. We've also increased the access to our Spanish language materials, but also world languages, because while Spanish is our biggest, our first language that we have for our ELL learners, we have a variety. I didn't realize how many until I talked last year at the end of the year to Tanya Anderson before she left. And so if you look at our strategic actions, we have actually have looked at finding other world languages, and there was one we buy from Junior Library Guild, and they have a world languages category where they have simple books about simple topics, but with a QR code, you scan it with your iPad or your phone, and it will read to you in, I believe it's like 12 or 14 different languages, Spanish included, but it's really a neat thing. And several of our libraries, we started building that collection. And it's also good because even if you're doing English, like the book is in English, so the student can be hearing it in their language, but looking at the words in English. So we're pretty excited for that as well. And then our bilingual books, that's mostly focused on Spanish. We do have some that have both the Spanish and the English right in the same book. So that is that piece. Oh yeah, this was a biggie. This is budgeting. As you know, the vast majority of our library budget, except for supply money, comes from the state level, Common School Fund money. Any of you who are unfortunate enough to get a speeding ticket, thank you. That money, some of that money comes back to our school libraries. It's not the majority of it. See, my husband be happy about it. Supporting the school. Right. Most of it comes from loans that they make, that the Commissioner of Boards of Public Lands make to school districts and cities and towns, and the interest paid on that actually goes into Common School Fund. But speeding tickets are a little part. I like to say it makes me feel better if I get one. But we actually, because our district is not tiny, we actually get a decent chunk of Common School Fund money. And as the librarian of our two largest buildings, for the longest time, I had the lion's share of the money because it was almost completely split up by your student percent population. The problem with that is that just because Oakdale has the fewest number of students does not mean they don't need materials that cost just as much as if we're buying them for the high school. Those ebooks that I was talking about, they're simultaneous multi-use access, but if that book costs me $50 at the middle school or $100, it's gonna cost that for Oakdale too, and if they need it to go with their curriculum, they need to have that. So we've worked very closely with Greg and then now Michelle to kind of tweak the way that the Common School Fund is allocated so that we can make it that more equitable, not necessarily equal, but equitable so that each school has the money to buy the things to support their students and their curriculum that they need as things change. So that's been a big deal and required a lot of meeting and like kind of talking about what that means. So it's been a huge piece that I'm really excited about, and actually one of our interviews, we talked about it last week, so that was really good. And then in addition to that, spending it on items that our staff or our students see that we need. So those are our strategic actions here. The other pieces are not necessarily unimportant, it's just that we are not focusing on them in this 3-year cycle. Question?
Go ahead.
So you said that the students can scan a QR code with their iPad. Is that only for like a school iPad? So I know at one point we had Epic was one that all the kids had access to.
Yeah, and I don't know as much about Epic. That's been really big at the elementary school. Actually the world language books that do the QR code, that's from a company called, we've gotten them from Junior Library Guild, but they come from a company called AV2, and they have other books. I have some other AV2 books that have QR codes that are like about the Taj Mahal, and so if you scan the QR code, it takes you to more information. So it's wholly separate, but no, if a kid checked out one of those world languages books, and anyone can, they're not restricted to our ELL students, if they scan the QR code with an iPad at home or a phone, they would have access by having the book that gives them access when they scan that code to get all those other languages, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I know a few years ago when they were doing Epic, and my kids had the subscription at home on their home iPad, so I wasn't sure.
Yes, no, it's just having the book and scanning that code means it works.
What are some subjects that needed to be updated that you can come up with that you just didn't have anything?
Yeah, our indigenous books are still in need of like updating for where we're at. And I'm trying to, we both did this. I'm trying to remember. The technology stuff is in constant need. I have books that are only 3 years old on technology that I've had to get rid of and they look shiny brand new and I hate to do it. So some
some of the ones that we didn't have, mostly what we noticed were the ones like those topics. I said ancient Mesopotamia because truly, I don't know if you had anything in your library, but that's one of the topics.
Not for primary students.
Yeah, yes, at that reading level. So I think a lot of them that were in there were some of the historical at the lower levels.
And you talked about the indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
You have books. What is wrong with the literature? Is it evolving, or what is
So the average age, I think, when I started that, I think it was 2 years ago that I did that as my SPO. The average age of my indigenous nonfiction books, or the average year, was like from the 70s, which I was this little at that time. Some of you may not have been around at that time. And so what we know about indigenous people has, and the way that we write about it has changed. Also, just the language that we used. I always find it interesting. We talked about Winnebago Park. That's not how you would address. That's the Ho-Chunk community. And so just getting the language changed to what it would be now. We didn't get rid of all of it because there are some that are classic books that are maybe the autobiographies of Black Elk. Like that is an old book. We probably get rid of that. But having stuff that's current, that would be more current information, because while the history is important, many of those indigenous people are still here, and we can't learn about them just as history because they're in our classrooms.
I'd actually want to piggyback off of that. Have you connected with the Ho-Chunk community, like here, and asked for recommendations, donations, anything that
That's
could...
an excellent idea. I used to, when Priscilla was here, our Ho-Chunk teacher, I would talk with her and share with her and get recommendations from her. But that's not something that I had thought about, and that is a really awesome idea, and hopefully somebody that will be here next year is writing that down, because that's a terrific.
Okay, so I hope somebody else writes this one down too. So I was wondering, do you have a student advisory board or anything like that?
No, and I think that would be amazing, especially starting it at the high school, or actually possibly starting it at the middle school. That might be the better way.
It's an empowerment piece that I feel like the
Yes.
kids, I mean, to give the recommendations of what literacy or literature that they want to actually read, you know, student surveys, focus groups, anything like that.
Yeah,
that
and
kind of
what I've done in the past is I have a box and I have a form, and it's like, what do you think we should have that we don't have, whether it be specific title or author or topic.
Right.
And sometimes I can tell that they didn't look in the catalog because we have one there. But no, I think that is a terrific idea. I would say one of the things that you might have noticed from just my thing, or even looking at some of it, is we all have at least 3 buildings. But I love that piece, and I know that the person who has been hired to take my place, while a veteran teacher, I kind of gave this pitch at the elementary interviews that one of the best things, and I found this when I came to Tomah 17 years ago, is that when you get new blood from outside the district, you have all these ideas and you have more freedom to make suggestions because you don't know how it's always been done, and people are more likely to give that a shot, and that's what I told the person that we interviewed, and I'm really hoping that's what happens with the 2 people that are doing it.
Okay, so this is my very last question. Okay. Which buildings have full-time licensed library staff?
Well, technically, no building has a full-time licensed librarian because 2 reasons. None of our buildings have a full-time librarian. I have the high school, the middle school, and Robert Hoover. Colleen currently has LaGrange, Warrens, Camp and Oak, and Blair has Miller, Lemonwire, yes, and Wyville. So that's, I am the only one of the 3 of us who has certification. Yeah, when I first came, we all did. There were 5 of us,
Right.
and we all had it. And I knew my middle school students a whole lot. I still had Cooper. I had Cooper and the middle school, but I knew my middle school students better. This is not a plug, but hey, I'll put it in there. If you can get more of us, it would be amazing.
It's hard to find library science
It is.
graduates.
It is. It totally is, and that's why I'm really hoping that the licensed elementary person that we interviewed with person comes. I pitched so hard, Melissa knows how much she's still here. I really worked hard. She would be amazing. So that would be 2 out of the 3 that would be licensed. Still not, not full time in the buildings, but we do it.
Yeah, I was just kind of concerned because, like, when I was looking at it, the equitable access across all of the campus, especially if you have staff that's so stretched thin. And
Yeah, the good thing with me being, I do have a full-time aide in the middle school and the high school. So, for the most part, my high school aide is totally full-time, and middle school is a little less than that. That's key, so that students can be coming in, or staff, even if I'm not there. Because nobody really wants to call me, I don't think. But yeah, it's really important. And even when Pauline's not there, the big in-town schools, close to full-time? Aides? Close.
Full-time.
Okay. Yeah. So.
well, thank you for your service.
Anything else? Sounds good. Thank you very much.
And I think that you guys do have to, I think that was the approval.
So that's what I'm gonna bounce up right now.
Missing?
So yeah, to keep for a little bit better flow, we're gonna jump down under new business, letter B, is consideration of possible approval of the updated Tomah Area School District Library Plan that was just presented.
Administration highly recommends approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Heidi and a second by Teresa to accept that plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your time, thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, back up to an update on the 2025-2026 academic calendar, the Wednesday 1 hour early release.
Everything's moving forward with that. No changes there. You want to bring that?
Yes, so I emailed Dr. Hansen asking, it to be put on the agenda, so Heidi, I don't think you were on the board when we discussed this, so we approved the hour release, on Wednesdays for PLC collaboration, so teachers have that time. At the time, I had asked it to be put on a Board Academy meeting agenda, because personally, I think that it's fantastic and it will help move our PLC work along. I think the teachers are, as we've heard multiple times tonight, are stretched so thin that it gives them time. At the same time, I don't know if you guys all got a really colorfully worded nice email from someone, but I've actually heard it from quite a few families and actually a few teachers who are very concerned about the hour release and how that is going to look for their family life. So the reason I wanted it to be brought to a Board Academy meeting is because I wanted to think of, put our heads together and think of if there's ways that we can help mitigate that stress to those families who cannot accommodate the early release. Because the last thing I would want, my kids are older, thank goodness, and I'm able to accommodate it, but I know several families who their kids are younger and they're gonna be going home to an empty house, or the parents just can't get off work early. So I did some research into looking at some possible options. I know Sparta does something. I couldn't find anything about that. I only had like 5 minutes to really research this, but Wapaka, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I
I'm from Arizona, sorry, y'all have some really weird city names here. Wapaka, does have, I really like they put out this frequently asked questions document on their website about their early release. First of all, I think that this would be really beneficial to let families know that we're not just doing an early release because we want to. Really letting them know like how the PLC is helping our students. But they also talk about something that they do where they have like an after school enrichment where the aides actually work with kiddos during that hour time for those families that again can't accommodate the schedule. But again, I thought it would be good to collaborate and see if there's something that we can do to help those families because I've heard it a lot. I know that aides, I mean, they're allotted those hours like to be. So as we talk about reading, literacy, trying to help those students with these reading plans, like maybe it's something where our aides can help those kiddos that need extra help. Maybe those kiddos that aren't getting that extra help at home because mom and dad are just trying to put food on the table. But that's kind of my spiel. I have data, everyone wants data too, but you know, just have to have data. So, just so you know, this is really interesting. So an after school program, so obviously this is not like our typical after school program, but in general, after school programs support working families. They say research spanning several states shows that every $1 invested in after school programs saves at least $3 by increasing kids' earning potentials as adults, improving kids' performance at school, and reducing crime and juvenile delinquency. Nearly 1 in 2 improved their language arts or math grades. Nearly more than 3 in 5 improved their behavior in class. That's a huge one. And nearly 7 in 10 improved their homework completion and class participation. So that's my take.
Do we have an avenue for those parents that are having issues with this to contact the principals? Because not all schools are going to have an issue. I mean, it's hard to put out a blanket service for every school when it's not needed.
Right. Well, even just like a survey, maybe even like asking parents, like, "Hey, is this going to impact your family? And if so, would an after-school program be good?" Because, like you said, I've heard from several people, but that's just several people. It's not representative of the entire population, but.
Part of the goal of that, when I was in the one meeting with the teachers, was to
Calendar?
Yeah, the calendar meeting was so that the students were not in the school, so that they could concentrate on what they needed to do without the distraction of the kids there. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of defeating the purpose a little bit. I mean, I know we've got to look at it, but I mean, that was the goal, was to have a quiet spot so that they could focus on what they're trying to do.
Right.
So
like, I mean, even if you went, I mean, do they all stay in their rooms? They do collaboration?
I don't
Do they
know
go
for that hour.
Teams, but right now we do things 7:20 to 8, and so teachers indicated that it just is not working, 1 for the time, but 2 because there's the number of kids that are there. So,
but I'm wondering, like, how for that after school would they all be in their own rooms, or would they be together?
They collaborate as a team, but the issue is they'd like is not to have any students there so they can focus in on the work. Frequently, the principal or someone is pulled out to work with things. So at this time, unfortunately, we don't have the capacity of a 21st century learning grant to do that. Also, our capacity with aides, support staff might be overstretched as well. And so we went at it as the calendar committee mentioned, give us this time, we'll walk this through, and the principals have So I think it may be there, but we watched things early enough to ensure that there was time for families to find those accommodations.
Is the middle school, high school, are they doing, do you have any plans for that hour? I know one concern some of us had was like sporting events
Yeah.
or practices.
And again, the middle school's a little different, but we are having our support staff stay, and there'll be different classrooms, because we do collab together.
Right.
And so we won't be using all of the classrooms. So our goal at the middle school would be like to have like the 8th grade wing just become like where we have support staff, so there'd be like a volleyball room, so kids who have to stay, they have volleyball practice after that. A football room, things like that. Again, they are middle schoolers, so they shouldn't have, like an age shouldn't have to come run to get,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I can only speak from that, I don't know. What the
I know the high school's probably even different, yeah, because then you have
We'll
older.
still have the commons areas open in some different spaces that are just supervised.
Like supervised kind of, yeah. Basically like Timberwolf time or something like that.
We want to clarify that it's only for students that are in those.
Correct, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
So the buses roll at 2, and everybody rolls out, the activity students only are in the volleyball room, everybody else go, but they're supervised to bridge that gap. And that's been going on at the high school too, I believe, it doesn't require as much to do it, but only those are.
So when you're collaborating, is it just like, I understand the middle school and high school, but as an elementary, there's like 2 teachers that are 5th grade, 2 of 3rd, so on and so forth. Do all of those teachers collaborate together, or is it just per grade level, or is it a combination?
Could be grade level teams, vertical teams, also it's collaboration, but we also will need time over the course of that year for some professional development, very targeted professional development that Mrs. Kruger and the intervention teachers are putting together. So really this is very tight in terms of what that hour is going to look like. Tight in terms of the agendas that are going to be there, tight in terms of that what's the outcomes coming from the collaborative team space, but also the delivery of some targeted professional development from our instructional coaches and curriculum leaders will be very, very important.
So I'm just, to Ms. Rice's point of having kids in the building, I'm just wondering, why is it that they can't be in, just playing devil's advocate, but why they couldn't be in the gym with support staff, allowing the support staff to be in charge, and that they aren't to interrupt the educators that have to have
We're doing that now on Thursdays, and it's proven not to be acceptable practice of collaborative.
Is it too loud, or are they getting interrupted?
And I think maybe if the board wants, we could have Ms. Cleaver come and present what's happening on those days. Because I've been working with her also with our support staff. Our support staff are asking to be trained to be just academic things, about behavior things, SEL type things. So we're kind of working together to, well, the teachers will be doing this, the support staff will be doing this, so that we can try to meet that adult need also.
So let's try to add that to one of the next academies, if we can. Do we get Andy to come?
Yes. So you have not been able to figure out any other way, just because I know that that's a concern because of that flowery email along with others. There's no other options that the school district, the administration has been able to figure out how to accommodate these families. Have you sent out a survey or anything like that to ask about what's going on?
With the stipulation that this comes back to the board academy meeting. That was the stipulation for that approval. I specifically asked for it to come to a board academy meeting so that we could look at those options.
And just to interject, because we have had no principals reach out to us saying they've had any parents contact them. I believe Dr. Gibbs even asked them if they
trust the principals. Look, I'm just gonna say this, the people that I have talked to, they have said that they've tried going to principal, they've tried going to administration for different things and nothing happened, so they just don't do it anymore. So I'm just gonna put that out there, it's an uncomfortable truth, but that's what happens. And so then it starts coming to board members who are trying, but it has been several people who have told me that it is going to harshly affect their families. They're gonna have to pull their students out and put them somewhere where that can accommodate the schedule. And I'm not saying we have to do anything. I'm saying when I did this at the last meeting, I said, can we please put this on a board academy meeting to look at the options? So it was not done, and it needs to be done. I'm not saying anything has to happen, but if we're gonna start talking about referendums, operational referendums and stuff, we need to make sure that the community knows that we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that their student receives the best education possible. And PLC is a huge part of that, which is why I'm all for it, but I don't understand why it has to be either or.
I think what's missing, especially from being the newest board member and somebody who was on the outside when this decision was made, is the community input aspect was completely missing from it. Your PR of rolling it out just at a board meeting without any sort of parental feedback or even student feedback or anything like that, and I understand the PLC community and like what we're going for with that or anything, but the Facebook lashback, the amount of parents that were concerned, they did reach out, they did say stuff online and so forth, and I'm sorry that they didn't reach out to principals, administration and so forth, and again, maybe that's another bridge that we need to work on, is making administration more accessible, maybe not just by email, but more face-to-face contact with parents, all that kind of stuff. But their spring break was taken away, with the amount of hours that there were. The amount of days have shifted down of like what you had off last year comparatively to next year. I think that those decisions absolutely deserve community input when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially parental input. And I came from an economically disadvantaged family. Like, my parents would not be able to pick me up. So I would have been that kid hanging on the monkey bars for an hour, before they would even be able to get me. So I understand parental concern, especially when it comes to that kind of stuff. And we live in that kind of new age now where maybe you guys driving by before 30 years ago, seeing me hanging on the monkey bars wouldn't have been a big deal, but it kind of is now. And if you got kids roaming around the neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff, we could see issues come up with that too. Idle hands.
I just think we just need to, one last plug for this, I think we need to study a little bit about this and get some more answers for the public. And that's, I have to support my two colleagues.
Alrighty. Okay, we're going to move another one up. So under new business A, we're gonna move up and have a discussion and possible approval of the proposed 2025-2026 meal prices.
I was excited for fun 50. I don't like standing there, so I'm gonna go right over here. All right, so what we have here is a breakout of what our current meal prices are, and looking at what my recommendation is gonna be, and I'm not actually coming with a recommendation, I'm coming with a range of recommendation. So at the top here, if we look at where it says current, that's the current year that we're in. This is where we're estimating roughly where we're gonna finish at the end of the year. We're gonna be taking about $180,000 out of our current fund balance. So currently our fund balance, 346, 442.88. So we have funds in there to take out of. So if we look at our lunch prices, we're at $3.25 for elementary, we're at $3.40 for middle school, and $3.50 for high school. Breakfast is on here as well, $2 and $2.15. So the next columns are 10 cents, 15 cents, and 20 cents. So my recommendation is no lower than 10, probably no higher than 20. I did throw on here 75 cents, just for a simple thing to look at the bottom. Now, please. Here is what our estimations are at the end of the year, depending on the price increase, and that 10 cent is lunch and breakfast, so the 15 cents would be lunch and breakfast, so on and so forth. You're looking at 104, 98, 91, and even with a 75-cent increase, you're still looking at $17,000. So we're still not making up everything in total. It's going to be impossible to really do that right now in one fell swoop. So also going back up just to give us some more information, up top here, I also have a breakdown of elementary, middle school, and high school, looking at the average prices, looking at average, a high, and a low, but this goes back to the 23-24 school year. There was no other data for any current school year. Any questions?
Anybody right away? Doesn't look like it.
You can, yeah, you can go to the next slide. So next slide is a breakdown of most of the schools in our area. I also threw some other school districts on there, New Richmond, De Pere, Schwabenheim, Elmbrook. Threw on schools that were similar size, just to get an idea of what other prices are sitting out there. So just coming over to the high school column, and we can look where we see 410, 375, 375. So we already see prices that are above us. I will say I do have a spreadsheet that covers all 420 school districts in the state. We are at the top of the list when it comes to pricing for the high school, middle school, and elementary school. So we are at the top 25 out of 400. So, but there are some school districts that are way down. There are some school districts that have nothing. They don't charge at all. They're on CEP, so it really depends. There's such a range. Any questions?
Gotta be some.
Usually there's tons of questions.
All right, so I'm gonna say one simple one, or maybe not simple, but we kind of hire, and I don't know how else to put it, but we offer better food than a lot of places that you think are not necessarily.
No, I'm not even gonna say that we do. So if we use Pullman as an example, we all are part of the same purchasing group. We all order the same stuff. So one thing when we look at, Michelle, if you go back to the previous spreadsheet, if we look at what we're looking for a bottom line, that would also anticipate that we go back to using more of our processed products. So this year, we used all whole muscle. Our beef was beef, our chicken was chicken, so it was whole muscle tender, whole muscle chunk. We didn't have a chicken nugget, even though it said chicken nugget on the menu. It was a chicken chunk boneless wing. So like our pulled pork, that was pulled pork. So we were using 100% products with no fillers. The downside to that comes with a cost. So that cost means we don't get as much money because we're charging $3.50 for a meal. You can't go anywhere and get $3.50 per meal. Even the staff here who $4.50 per meal. You can't go anywhere and get a meal for $4.50. That quality, you just can't.
Oh, we just had a discussion in finance, and we were trying to look at it. We don't have all the numbers that we need. And we were looking at proposing a 15 cent on lunch, 10 on breakfast, and then see what type of supplements we get from the state, federal, whatever, and then reevaluate it next year so that we know we're going to deplete some of the fund balance.
Correct.
But we wanna look at it each year and see if we catch up or what we need to do. That was, anyone else, that was part of our discussion.
But we need to protect that fund balance so that we always have a little bit of it available in case something needs to be replaced right away, like equipment or our vans, since they're moving between 13 buildings and things like that. So we have to be very careful about how much we increase our meals, because our parents, it does get to be costly if you have more than one child. Most families have 2 to 5 children or something like that. And so it becomes a major expense that they may not have. So, but because food prices have gone up, fuel prices have gone up, so on and so forth, it's costing more to provide lunches and breakfast. And so, but we don't want to eat into that budget, but we also need to do something. And so that's why we fell on the 15 cent and the 10 cents increases versus the 50 or 75 cents. But eventually we're going to have to go that way so that we can be able to catch whatever shortfalls we end up having. So, at any rate.
Well, I think we've got to be careful that if we're taking it at 10 and 15 or whatever, and saying that down the road it may go up to 50, you know, I think we got to be a little careful that we're not just going to blast them with a huge increase along the way, as we've seen with the referendum for a building. You know, when you look at waiting and waiting, that cost just keeps going, and then it gets to be too much. So I don't know what that happy place is, or where that happy, you know, but we just can't think that down the road we're going to be able to say we're going to raise lunches 50 cents, because it's going to be.
We talked, and that's why we came up with a recommendation for 15 cents for the high school, middle school, and or the lunch program, and 10 cents for the breakfast. Because that unknown number that we don't know is that's hard to estimate what you might have to have. So I think we're okay this way. We talked also about going like to the 75, 50 or 75, and that's monthly. That gets to be a lot for a family if you've got multiple kids in school. And like Jesse said, the more you raise the price, the less people participate in the program. So you're not really making any ground. You're losing almost. So
you got to sell the program. So when I came to your board academy meeting and you did that whole presentation, like, first of all, you're fired, you're amazing, okay? The district should showcase this. And not only that, but like literally show the families what the kids are actually getting in school. If I knew that you were sending like lunches to the kids like that, you know, like, I wouldn't send a brown bag. I wouldn't. Like, you're literally giving them 100% muscle meat. Like, that should be showcased. That should be pictured. That should be on the district website. That should be like literally popping up all the time. You know, the lettuce dispensers. You know, like, that's incredible. Like, that should be in the paper. That literally, like, yeah, I'm not joking. I'm not joking you right now. Like, it really needs to be uplifted. Like, because families don't know about this. They don't, and clearly they're not showing up.
So hopefully this summer, we also just got our certificate to sell at the farmers market.
Right.
So we're going to be selling our lettuce at the farmers market in the summertime that we're not using in the program. So that way it helps generate back in. So Dan Briggs and I are going to work on getting students all to participate, because who better than to be at the farmers market selling school lettuce to the students.
Right, and if you get community buy-in on that, I can see donations rolling in, not just to pay off the school lunches, because we know like that's not going into your fund. you know? And that's also needs to be clarified to the public too, because people are donating and they're thinking like it's paying for the food service. Like they don't realize that it's just paying the delinquent accounts, but they could be making a donation specifically of, I do want to buy that new equipment. I do want to buy another, you know, growing lettuce dispenser, you know? Like if people know about this stuff, you're gonna see way more output, so.
I have, as a mom of 3 boys that are almost as big as I am, and the kids eat nonstop. We have the lunch and the breakfast menu for Warren's hanging up in our kitchen, and I am so ecstatic when my child decides that he wants to have breakfast or lunch at school, because it actually costs me less to purchase a school meal than to pack them a meal or to feed them breakfast.
And theirs is probably better quality.
Yeah. I mean, they have Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast, and I'm like, you can go to school and have all kinds of like.
No judgment.
I mean, they're very picky, but like this morning, my son, it was pancakes at Warren's this morning. He's like so excited. He's having breakfast, and I was like, hallelujah. Like, there's costs so much less for them to have food there. So, I mean, just from a mom perspective, I guess, like for me, 10 cents wouldn't be that big a bill.
So
I would rather pay that.
So let me ask you as a school mom, because I don't have any more to put through. I had a high school student that would just eat, and they had a problem because he had double meals. With your student, or with your kids, what would it be like if you had to do 20 cents? Because to Rick's, to Mr. Murray's comment of not making huge jumps, just little incremental steps as we go. How bad a budget breaker would it be for you? Because I think you have 2 or 3.
Yeah, well, I have 2 and then I have 1 at home. So for me, I'm used to spending, I mean, I could sell a kidney and still, like, they just don't stop eating.
Right.
So I'm used to spending a ton on food, and we're very blessed that we have 2 incomes. So for me, like 20 cents wouldn't be a big deal, but I can see for our lower income families, it would be a pretty big stretch. So, I mean, like I said, even a 20-cent increase, I still wouldn't be able to feed my kids at home for less than that.
Well, I'll make a motion then that we raise the meal prices for lunch 15 cents and we raise the breakfast cost 10 cents.
I would say.
Okay. Got a motion by Sue and seconded by Spencer to raise lunches by 15 cents and breakfast by 10. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed to that? Okay.
All right, happy Tuesday, y'all.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Right. Back. Workforce engagement, attracting and retaining, continuously developing highly effective employees for our team. Do we have an update on the 25-26 employee hiring process?
Yes, we have 14 openings, a few more that may have come through tonight. This always changes quite actively over the days, and we've got right now two at LaGrange, 2 at Miller, 2 at Lemonwire, 1 at middle school, 1 at the high school. District has 4 openings when you take a look at speech language, reading interventionists, and instructional coaches, and Camp Douglas with 1.
Okay. Quick update there. All right, continuing in order, we have finance and operations, planning and using resources to best support the district mission, vision, and goals. And Ms. Clark, we have a 2025-2026 preliminary budget presentation.
Thank you. If you're in the audience and you didn't grab one of these, you will want one. So I will try to be as quick as possible, but going through every budget line takes a little bit of time. So bear with me. And if you want to stop during the middle and ask questions, or if you want to hold them to the end, either is fine. So the first thing we want to just review is a couple months ago, I did a presentation on budget assumptions and unknowns and how do we really figure out what our budget should be next year. So there are some things that we assume. We know CPI ended at 2.95% for last year, so we know staff compensation will be at least that much. We were able to negotiate a 4.5% health insurance premium increase as opposed to a 9%. There's no dental insurance increase. Wisconsin retirement system changes. They come in January, so this past January they went up like 0.05. They may go up or down when we see in next January. And then we make assumptions when we look at retirees and if the insurance changes that they can stay in the district. Other assumptions that we make, we also know that we currently have 2 more years on our operational referendum. We know that we'll have a $325 per pupil increase for students from the state of Wisconsin. We know we'll have an increase in common school library funds that Vicki talked about. We know we're going to have a reduction in Title I funds. We don't know any numbers yet, but we know that it'll be less. Other expenses, some assumptions, obviously our increased inflationary costs. When we look at additions or reductions in staffing, we make assumptions on that. We know what we are going to need to pay for, or continue to pay for one teacher's salary in the Title I, just because Title I funding was cut last year. I know that the building budgets for supplies stayed the same. Other assumptions that we make is that we know the state of Wisconsin has a surplus, but we also know that there's many asks for those surpluses. So we can make assumptions based on our educated guesses, but we have a lot of unknowns that we won't know really quite sometime what those unknowns numbers turn out to be. So there's federal government changes. You know, Jesse didn't mention this, but we did have a federal grant that was for whole meat that we had been using this year, and received an email that won't be coming anymore. So that grant that we were already awarded had been taken for whole meat purchases. We don't know what other federal government changes there'll be. We don't know what increases will be from the state of Wisconsin. There's a lot of talk with reimbursing special education costs more than what they currently are. They put in the 23-25 biennium budget to do a 33% reimbursement for special ed, but they only put X amount of dollars in there, so that, like last year, turned out to be about 29%, not 33%. So I'm budgeting for 30% right now because we don't want to overestimate what we're going to get, and then at the end of the year, be short on that. Our categorical aid amount, our general aid amount, we won't know those things until July 1st. Our pupil count, we don't do until the 3rd Friday of September. So that our 3rd Friday count tells us how many students we have on a 3-year rolling average. So that helps determine what our revenue limit is. We won't know equalized property values until October 1st. That will help determine the mill rate. And then we really won't know what our general aid certification is from the state of Wisconsin until October general aid, and our property tax is what makes up our revenue limit. So we'll figure out our revenue limit once we know most of those things, and then we really won't be able to set our mill rate or what property taxes will be until that October 15th. So that's why we have our annual meeting then at the end of October, and everything has to be done and sent into the state by the end of October. So a lot of unknowns. So what you're hearing tonight is a preliminary budget. So we really will, you'll hear it tonight, very detailed tonight, and then the coming months, I will highlight the changes from tonight. And then you will approve the budget in October. So we will operate on a preliminary budget until that time. So we want to look at page 2. This really is just a summary of all of our expenses and all of our revenues, and it's really just a page to say we have a balanced budget. And so the following pages that we're going to talk about, we'll talk about all of the details that make the expenses and the revenues equal each other. So we'll start with revenues, and everybody here does have one of these, right? So I could not worry about moving this, and I can talk from my. So if we look at revenues, I'll go through the changes from last year and how we figure this out. The first column is obviously the description of what the account is. Then we have last year's beginning budget. We made a budget adjustment in January, and then you just approved one in February or in April. And we do those budget adjustments because when we don't hire a position, or we don't use as much on fuel, or we use more on fuel, we have to balance the expenses to the revenues because we can't just create more revenues to pay for something. The next column is the beginning of the 25-26 budget. And again, this will not be approved until and numbers are going to change. The difference, the budget difference column is the difference between the beginning 25-26 budget and the January 24-25. I use the January 24-25 because those are when we know all of the numbers as far as student count goes and property values and flood state. And then the percentage is just those numbers divided out on each other. So to go over the things that have changed, and I'll go over even the small ones in case you have questions. So the first one, general tuition, that changed a little bit. We had a student that was coming in for one class and paid tuition for that class. I don't anticipate that happening again. We haven't had anyone contact us, so that's why that's down to 0. Transportation fees, those include fees that we charge Queen of the Apostles or St. Paul's or a non-district transportation. And this past year was a little bit more than normal, so being conservative, I brought that budget down to $15,000. And again, if we have a lot more revenue in that, you'll see that adjustment in January and understand where that's coming from. Next one, let's change educational program sales. We added Woods or shop at the middle school this past year, so that's why you'll see a change in there. The elementary co-curricular admissions, that's basically just the musical. And last year's sales were above normal, so I brought the budget back down to normal. We normally do not raise $2,900 at the elementary musical, but again, if we do, you'll see that this coming January. Tomah Middle School co-curricular admissions, again, that is the musical, and again, you'll see what the actual revenue was in January. Co-curricular high school, that's all of our co-curriculars at the high school. And last year was an odd year all the way across for co-curriculars and extracurriculars. So looking at the average, we started last year at $45,000, but I did bump that up to $65,000 thousand, because I don't see that going all the way back down. Earnings on investments, just because the market is changing a little bit, that is why there is a reduction there. Right now, we have our funds tied up in 6-month CDs, so when we are renewing those in the next few months, we'll have a better idea of exactly what that will be. Rentals are simply the rentals of our facilities, and last year, last few years, we've had it at 4,500, and we haven't always realized that, so I took it down to 2,500. Summer school revenue, we are not charging students fees for summer camping. We haven't done that for the last few years, so that was taken out of the budget. The next few fines, they average about that amount, so that's where we're leaving those at. General tuition open enrollment, that's based on really what the April open enrollment was. That's for students coming into our district, the revenue of that. We started last year 800,000. In January, it looked like it would be closer to 900,000 based on the numbers. But then when we just did a check in April of our open enrollment students in, it was 838,000. So that's what we start the year with that. State aid, that's our youth apprentice, and that just isn't budgeted yet. It's one of those things that will eventually be filled in before you approve a budget in October. But I'm pretty positive it's going to be 55,000 again. But until we see it on paper, we'll leave that out. Same thing with the federal transit. That's really our Title III consortium with CISA, and we really don't know those numbers quite yet. Going into transportation aid, those are based on numbers, and that's based on how much you spend the previous year. And we are buying buses this year, so I'm anticipating the aid reimbursement back to our district to go up. That's why that's going up. The library aid, again, that's from the state. That's not officially out yet. I haven't even seen any unofficial numbers yet. So that's a number that will be changed in the next coming months. Equalization aid from the state, that will change, but that's the best guess estimate right now, that there won't be substantial change in that. But remember, our district is very heavily aided. For every dollar we spend this year, we are aided about 60 cents next year. And our spending has been about the same, so I anticipate it to be approximately the same. Special projects grant, most of that is educator effectiveness, and if you'll notice last year, at the beginning of the year, we don't know those numbers yet. And again, my best guess is it'll be around that 63,000, but until we see it in a notification, we won't actually put that on the budget until we have it. School-based mental health is about the same. So is the state revenue. Exempt computer aid stays the same. Per pupil aid, again, this is based on the numbers of students we have in our district, and just looking at population, I think there may be a small decrease, but not enough, not a lot. But again, we won't know that exactly until the third Friday in September. High cost transportation aid stay about the same. Other state revenues, that's our youth apprenticeship, and again, that's just not budgeted yet until we officially see it. And that's the same with vocational education aid, that's our Perkins. We know we will receive Perkins funds, and it will be approximately that 42,000, but until we actually see it, we won't add it to the budget. Impact aid, this is aid that our district and other districts receive that have parents working on federal land for McCoy, Roadfield, VA, or if they're living on tribal lands, and we count on parents to fill those forms out. Even though we may know where a parent does work, we can't say they work anywhere unless they fill the form out and sign it. Special program grants, again, we received extra in January at the middle of the year, so I anticipate that number is going to change before you approve the budget. ESSER 3 are the last COVID dollars, and those needed to be spent by the end of September last year, so that's just not an option for our schools anymore. Title 4A, it's unknown right now. That's going to change. I put it what we started last year, but we may receive more funds before January. Stronger Connections grant will not change at all. That's a 2-year grant. Title I, the revenues for that are based on numbers in our free and reduced numbers, and we believe we're going to start about $10,000 more. And then other federal revenue, that $73,000. We partner with the federal government on the junior ROTC program, so half of the salary, not the benefits, but half of the salary we're reimbursed for those 2 instructors. And then equipment and sales, we talked last time when we buy new buses, we will try to sell those buses. We normally is around $6,000. Last year we were just over $10,000, but that's because we leased new vans and we sold all of the old vans from 2012 to 2014. So we don't have those vans to sell this year, so we brought that back down to where we started last year. As far as insurance, claims will be about the same. Aidable is our E-rate and our insurance dividends. We've been very fortunate this year on insurance claims, so we haven't had to do a lot of claims this year. We're going to anticipate that trend continuing. Other miscellaneous revenue is like when we have a contract broken by a teacher or an admin, they have to pay a fee. When flex dollars are returned to the district. So overall, the best estimate right now for revenues is that they're going to go down 0.84%. But again, that's all going to change before we approve the budget in October. The bottom part is special ed. That's Fund 27. And remember, Fund 27 has to end with a 0 balance at the end of the school year. So we transfer from Fund 10, the regular general budget, into the special ed budget to zero out that account. And so beginning budget, I believe, will be about $5.1 million that will go from special ed into our general revenue. And just as a reminder, that's one of the huge things that the state of Wisconsin is looking at, is upping that reimbursement rate, which would be huge for all school districts. Let's see, handicap aid, again, that is a percentage of our aidable costs, so those fluctuate with our expenses. Aid for special education transit, that was a grant that we received last year, and we're notified that it would be about $6,000 less than last year. Then our special projects grant, IDEA, again, that's based on expenses, and it's a percentage back to us, so that's fairly accurate there. I don't think that'll change a lot. Discretionary grant, that's something we don't find out about until, actually we just found out for this year, I think in February or March. So we'll find out about that. Special projects grants for preschool, that's again based on numbers, and those will fluctuate throughout the school year. And then Medicaid revenue. So again, I can't stress enough, this preliminary, but when a revenue changes, there's usually very strict requirements for grants. So if a revenue changes, that's going to reflect in an expense. So our overall budget is going to stay the same, but our revenues and expenses will fluctuate with each other. Questions on revenues on that page? Okay. Just on to Fund 29. This is our Indian education. That again, that's dictated to what that number will be for us. We don't have any control over that. And then Fund 50, Jesse, I just went through all of that. No money's come from Fund 10 if that fund has a fund overall, we look at all funds 10, 27, 29, and 50, we would be looking at about a 1.31% decrease in revenues. Okay. Next page, onto grants. So the first we'll go through is non-salary. These will be supplies and things like that. These, again, will return, they are told to us by, like Title I is from the federal government, they're based on numbers. And so we put in a conservative budget thinking that that's where it's gonna be about. Again, ESSER 3 doesn't exist anymore, so that's 100% completed. Title 2A, that is going to change. You can see that we started last year at 30,000. We raised it up to 146 in the winter, and then back down to in April. And how I kind of explained it to finance is that some of these grants have very stringent requirements of how you can spend them and how long you can keep them. So some of them, it's called carryover. You can save them for next year if you can use the funds out of another fund that you have to spend that year. So in a lot of these titles, you'll see some fluctuation. It's not that the expense for that went away, it's just we took it from a different pot that we have to use or we're gonna lose it. And we can carry over some of the, like the Title I funds, we can carry some of those over. Title IV, that's going to change, but I just started this year with how we started last year. Youth Apprentice, again, that's just not budgeted yet because we haven't seen that on paper. Title III is a small grant we just haven't seen yet. Get Kids Ahead is a program that is done. It ended this year. Educator Effectiveness is a grant that we may or may not receive next year. And when we do, we'll add that to the budget for the board to approve. Vocational education, again, is our Perkins. It's just not budgeted yet. And then the next two for Fund 27, those are based on cost and numbers, and they fluctuate year to year based on those costs and numbers. The IEDEA implementation zone, that was one we just learned to receive for this year. So again, we may receive it this year or next year or not. American Indian Language is a consortium, and we don't control that budget and when or if that consortium receives funds, we will receive our same share as the other districts in that consortium. And then going on to the salary budget for grants, again, Title I for Fund 10, our general fund, just based on numbers, that is where I think the beginning budget will be. Title 2A, same, very similar as last year. Youth Apprentice, again, is just not budgeted yet. Get Kids Ahead is done. The Fund 27, again, those, they fluctuate with numbers and cost and staff. So those will change as the year goes on. And then Indian Education grant, the salary, again, those are just, that's given to districts, we don't have any control over that. And then so the bottom block is just the top two, salary, non-salary, added all together. So an overall grant percentage change is 17.95. But again, some of the budgets we know we're gonna get a Perkins, we know we're gonna get Youth Apprentice, we just don't know the exact number because we haven't seen it on paper. So that percentage won't be as low as the year goes on. Good? Okay. Onto the salary budget. Again, the top is Fund 10. That's our general fund. It's broken down by the elementaries individually, and then kind of a third of the way down, elementary, middle school, and high school. These are just salaries that we look at, we currently have. We look at CPI for last year. We look at retirements and try to give a best guess estimate of where those salaries will be to start the year. We haven't hired all of our people practical yet, so, this page will change as we go on before October, but it's close. Probably, a big thing, maybe the 4K community, you wondering why that may have went down. We are not partnering with Noah's Ark, and so that has changed in that. So the bottom half of that Fund 27, again, that's special ed. Again, those are just salaries. It's broken down by elementary, middle school, high school. We do special transportation for special needs students. And then district-wide aid that's eligible and non-eligible. So for example, there are some costs that we can try to claim through IDEA, and then some that we don't. And Dr. Shafrani takes care of all of that. So overall, looking at a salary budget of increasing 3.26 for Fund 10 and 3% for special ed. All right, the non-salary budget, this is everything that supports our district that's not a person. And the top talks about each of the schools, and again, these are based on student numbers, and so they fluctuate a little bit because of influxes in certain schools and kids going to other schools. And what I really want to focus on is that you see where it says elementary total at the top, then there's middle school, and then high school and athletics. And then we start breaking down each individual line item with alternative school. I want to go down to the bottom of that page, and we're going to go through each one of those budgets individually. So if you look at the alternative school, overall budget change is 2.75%, and I mean, we're talking $1,300, so it looks like it's maybe more than it is, but this, our alternative school, Robert Cooper, is doing the supplies for it, and a lot of this is based on numbers of students. The next one is English language learner. That looks like it increased hugely, which it went from 700 to 5,700, and that is just based on student numbers that we had and then resources that those students needed. And again, this is everything that's not people. The next one, administration of the district. This talks about all of our legal services, elections, our audit. You'll see our audit has increased. We had the same audit company for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, and they're no longer doing school audits. So we did find a new company, and the board approved them several months ago, but that will come with an increase in cost. See if there's, reduce the administration travel budget just because it, the 5,000 is more accurate than 10. Public relations, that looks like it's reduced, but we just added that into advertising, so that's really what public relations is, it's advertising. So we took 17,000 from public relations and we put it into advertising, we put 10,000 of that into advertising. Communication, just looking at what we have spent over the course of the last few years. We do a lot more emails and communicating that way and not necessarily sending things to the mail, so reduce that budget. General supplies, went up $200, but that's our checks, our deposit slips, things like that. Periodicals, reduce that budget. Our lease principal and our lease interest, those are our Xeroxes. We approved a new 5-year contract on Xeroxes, so we'll see a little fluctuation in those costs. The next three on district liability insurance, district property insurance, and workman's comp, those are all projected to go down. We have been very safe. We have very few workman's comp claims that are huge claims, so we anticipate that going and along with our liability and property insurance. Dues and fees, those things are things like background checks that we do for employees and volunteers, Rotary membership, Chamber of Commerce membership, things like that. Refund payment, that is what it costs for us to, Medicaid cost recruitment. We have to fill out forms in order to claim Medicaid costs. And then, so administration of the district overall has a 5.61% decrease for next year. Health, this would be our nurses and the supplies that they purchase. As I looked over this over several years, the budget had been $3,200 for several years, but they were consistently spending more. We have all the ADAs, now we have all the portable ones, we have them in the buildings, and that budget just had not been adjusted. So I adjusted it to be more realistic to what they have spent over the last course of several years. Transportation, again, looking at costs, it did reduce the petroleum by 4.87%, just because looking over the last several years, it had been high, and I felt comfortable in reducing it that much. Equipment, vehicle maintenance, that has gone down, and I anticipate that that will go down, and that's really, our vehicles are new as far as our vans go. They need oil changes and occasional tires, so we're not needing to fix as many things. We'll have our lease and on our vehicles that we started last year. Liability insurance for transportation is projected to go down. And again, overall cut in transportation by 18.72%. Then on to operations. This budget just overall, I'm projecting will go down to 2.49%. And that's just because looking at the historical use and costs, reduce the budget for electricity other than heat at the high school, just because it had been consistently high, but then increased it for electricity other than heat in other buildings. Let's see if there's any other, just water in buildings overall, it had been 10,000, but really it's been about 12,000 over the course of the last few years. And then just minor adjustments in sewer, Oakdale, and Camp Douglas. Communications telephone, that went down 27,000, and I do believe, I was gonna confirm this with Mr. Cotter today, but I do believe that's because of our dark fiber, and we don't need the same communication types thing up in Warrens, so that's helping out with that. CISA payment, we have had newer principals on doing some training, coachings, thank you, but because they're previous, we won't have those anymore. Supplies in the buildings have all stayed the same, so overall budget and operations going down 2.49%. And then construction, I have to remind myself next year when I put this at the bottom, because construction is kind of our catch-all. This is how we balance our budget. So if we get to January, we've had a very mild winter. We've had a few unfilled positions. The board may choose to take those excess funds and put them into construction so we can plan our summer and do some more construction things. So right now, it looks like we're increasing our construction budget from January by about 20%, but you can see we adjusted it in April to $838,000 because we had the funds to be able to do that. So some of the projects that have been approved, like for example, the seal coating or the concrete work that Board of Facilities had approved last week, we're able to do those types of things when we can adjust the budget for things things that don't turn out to be how we anticipate them. Maintenance, the only major difference here is that there's a reduction of 27,000 because we were contracting out our HVAC maintenance. And so again, these are just the supplies, and we're doing them in-house now. So it went from one fund to another because we can't code it the same because we're doing it ourselves. We look at district-wide programs, personal services. We're reducing that budget, but that's because we're using Title II and Title IV for those. The PS district-wide, reducing, that's our employee assistance program. Again, that's based a little bit on the numbers of our employees and usage. The rental equipment, Risograph, that's our, maybe you don't know, anyone ever used a Risograph before? Oh, yeah.
I usually,
Okay,
it's the one that's in my, it's an offset press. Like, it's a printing press.
Thank you. So we have to pay for that. And let's see, other major, CISA services, that again, we're not using as many services as we have in the past. Again, with the payments to CISA, the same line, along the same lines. Transfer to special ed for non-salary type things, I think it's gonna go down a little bit. And then the general aid payment adjustment, if you recall, we had the chargeback from the town of Greenfield last year, we will not have that this year that I've heard of. District-wide AV, just upgraded the budget a little bit, up to 20,000, just because of the cost of those things, so it's a little bit more realistic. And then curriculum is staying the same. Technology, we did increase that budget a little bit just because repairs and replacements cost more, and they're been consistently over budget, but it's things that we have to fix and do. Gifted and talented, wellness, no changes. 4-year-old kindergarten, again, that's based on numbers, so anticipate about a 2% increase in that. No changes in Native American education, no changes, or overall changes in the summer school intercession. Those come out of the same fund, but because we don't have intercession, that budget will be reduced. I don't believe we will use all of that out personally. I don't think our numbers will dictate that. So then the next page is just everything we just talked about on salary and non-salary, all put together. For Fund 10, our general fund, and for our special ed fund. So any numbers that you see on the last few pages, if you have the salary and the non-salary out, it will be this page. And then the grand total just takes everything that we talked about, revenues, all the expenses, the grants and everything, and puts them onto one page. So again, overall, Fund 10 is projected right now at a decrease of 0.84%, and Fund 27, our special ed fund, at a decrease of 3.2%. Next month.
That's it.
That's it. So then next month, anything that changes on here, I will highlight, and then I'll tell you what changed, and then we'll tell you the reason why it changed. So you'll see this again in June, July, August, September. I mean, we could do it all at the end, but I think you're better informed if we do the little changes every month. We won't know a lot of the really big things though until next.
I have issues budgeting my checkbook every month, so. Unless there's any big question tonight, maybe you can offer any questions to Michelle on your own, or if you have some tonight, that's fine.
Yeah, or if there's something you want to know more of for
Good stuff, thank you. Alright. No unfinished business. I'll go under new business and take consideration and or action on the following. We've already done A and B. So the next would be consideration of possible approval of the 4K contract with the Tomah School of Childhood for the 2025-2026 school year.
Administration recommends approval. We have a strong relationship with Tomah School of Childhood. We'll monitor those numbers deeply. So as Michelle mentioned in the budget, no longer needing the services over at Noah's Ark, but continue to have robust enrollments over at Tomah School of Childhood. So they're seeking $15.03 versus the $14.64 last year. So the contract embedded has the approved numbers, and these came from Michelle over at Tomah School of Childhood. I want to thank Michelle here, TASD, to looking at that. So works very well.
Any questions? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to approve that contract that was embedded.
I just have one
Yep.
question.
Yep.
Minimum student contact time will be 437 hours, and you were talking about so much for, is that what it's typically had been? It's not, okay.
Thank you, good question.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Rick to accept the contract as presented. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Sue.
Yep.
Yep. Motion by Rick, second by Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Next will be the review and consideration for approval of the open enrollment in and the open enrollment out requests for the 2025-2026 school year.
We recommend open enrolling in a motion to accept all, but number 4, number 7, denying those for no space in special education.
Any questions on that? Correct. None. I look for a motion to accept that as presented.
Katie,
Can I
Oh, yeah, go,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. No, that's what I was asking.
I know we're all tired.
It's all right, no.
I talked to Michelle about the 31 out, and my understanding there is that those are students that live in our district but have never, those students, those parentheses, they've never gone to our school. Either their parents work in those communities or some such thing, so.
So it says that they're enrolled in a school or they attend a school, but they don't actually attend the school.
They live here, but they go to a different school.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Sorry, it's.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
that's-
got
that's
it. Yep, you're
Yeah,
good. Thank
yeah.
you for explaining.
No, I called on that too, thinking, what's going on?
I was like,
But that
that's
made
long.
sense, and then it sounded, yeah.
Yep.
Why are we approving these guys to leave? Because they live here, they have to.
Oh, is that part of the state law?
What if we don't approve them to leave? Then what happens? I know it's a stupid question, but.
If you don't,
If we would like deny it, which we're, yeah.
then you have to follow state statute. So where our recommendation is on we talking about open enrollment in? Yeah.
No,
Either
out.
All out, well, yeah, I mean, that's
That would be.
what we do.
You open a state.
So it's a disparate number.
I'm kind of perplexed by that rule.
I recommend approving the open enrollments in, except for 4 and 7, and approving the open enrollments out.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Whatever you said.
As presented, basically as presented.
I'll just
It's all
second
there.
it, because if we have to do whatever.
All right, so we got a motion by Sue, a second by Teresa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that page is done. Okay, all right. Next, consideration and possible approval of termination of the real estate purchase agreement for the Monroe tax parcels numbers 042-00175-0000, 286-02648-5000, 042-00154-0000, 042-00172-0001, and portions of 286-00384-000, and and 042-00172-0000 and 042-00171-2000. This is basically the Bailey property. So,
There is a motion to terminate,
I'll motion to terminate the contract.
Also, do you want to finish the direction?
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay, that's right, we can still
There's a
discuss.
motion on the table by Teresa. I'd like you to add a motion to terminate the real estate purchase agreement for Monroe tax parcel numbers, just as Mike read them, due to failure to satisfy required contingencies.
You still okay with that motion then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Recommended motion from board two.
Due to failure to satisfy.
You just deficiencies of contract, right?
Of the contract.
You good? You got it written in? Okay, alright, so I had a motion by Teresa, a second by Katie, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Alright, done there. Okay, now we have the second reading and consideration for approval of the following policies. Policy 2210, curriculum development. Policy 2270, religion in the curriculum. Policy 2271.01, start college now program. Policy 2416, student privacy and parental access to information. Policy 2464, programs for gifted and talented students. Policy 4124, letter of reasonable assurance. Policy 5113, open enrollment program. Policy 5330, administration of medication / emergency care. Policy 5341, emergency medical authorization is rescind. Policy 5411, third grade promotion and retention, at-risk students. Policy 5512, use of tobacco and nicotine by students. Policy 5611, suspension and expulsion, rescind. Policy 5710, student complaints, rescind. Policy 6231, budget implementation. Budget 6235, fund balance. And policy 6620, petty cash.
No changes since last. Recommended approval.
But, I'm sorry, Ms. Devine, what did you say?
Can we, vote on programs for gifted and talented students separately?
If that would be a motion,
That would
yes.
be 2464, can you pull that one?
So you can make a motion to approve all of these separately.
Motion to. I'll make a motion that we accept all of the second reading policies.
Okay, do a motion on the floor to accept them all. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Second by Rick. So all those in favor of accepting all of them, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now the next one is just the first reading, so there's no action on these tonight. Policy 1130, conflict of interest. Policy 1241, non-renewal of the district administrator. Policy 3122.01, drug-free workplace. Policy 3214, staff gifts. Policy 3230, conflict of interest. Policy 4122.01, drug-free workplace. Policy 4214, staff gifts. Policy 4230, conflict of interest. Policy 7410, maintenance. Policy 7430, safety hazards. Policy 7440, facility security. Policy 8305, information security. And policy 8395, student mental health services.
I want to make one clarification. The policy committee might wonder, where's policy 1100? That was a clerical error of mine. I didn't cut and paste well enough from that. So I'll bring that one back to you all in a first reading at the June meeting. That's just district organization, no major there. But yeah, just if there are any that you, the committee spent about 15 minutes, so these are a little less heavy in intensity. So I want to thank the committee for that. I will say 1241 non-renewal termination of the DA, that's now all aligned with all the other administrators. Drug-free workplace, we had in both the 3,000 and the 4,000, a sentence was in the student one, so we're cleaning that up. Just trying to think if there were any majors here, but this is really some basic cleanup language, some statute driven, and that's why I think we moved a bit faster in that one, would you say?
Yeah, it wasn't any big deal.
I just have one question,
Yeah.
I guess, again, new.
No, it's great.
Yeah, in the conflict of interest, in the policies 1130 and 3230, are elected school board members considered officers or agents under the definitions?
Yes, so what I will, you absolutely are, but this is a, yes, I would say that you are, and I wanted to triple check, that's an excellent question, because sometimes yours are in the zeros, but, continue on with your question there.
I was just wondering, under that definition, like if we are officers or agents or anything, that's just for my own clarification of the policy. Okay.
And I'll triple check if there's anything in the,
I didn't want to
that
be a
first section.
lawyer.
Very good question. Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else comes up, you can contact Dr. Hanson, or we'll have it next month. So that was just the first reading, so we're all good there. All right, so next we just have a list of the upcoming events and activities.
Thanks for your work through the next month. Appreciate it.
We do have two other special meetings that people probably know of too, this Thursday and next Wednesday, district office. Okay, so the last thing would be contemplated posts. Tomorrow. Oh yeah, let's go back to tomorrow. We start at 9:45 a.m. Oh wait.
They have a special meeting.
No, it's 9.
9 at 10.
9 at 10.
Yeah. So we all drive on our own to Tams at 9 o'clock.
Are we gonna order food?
Yeah, sorry. We'll have something here.
I just.
Rick, was that the only question you had?
No, so one of the special meetings is tomorrow. No, I mean for
1 second.
I think I double checked the weight. I think they're both listening.
What? No, one of them's at Robert Cooper, 22nd.
Thursday, 22nd is Robert.
22nd, Robert Cooper.
So did it have a different?
I won't be here.
Must have changed it on, so we'll meet over.
I mean, that's what I had.
Which one was it? Was this the second one we got or the first one we got?
22nd.
Is that?
I had so many text
That
messages.
started 28th is the deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what, we can clarify that, but that's
So
what I.
mine, oh yeah, you're right, it does say, you're right. My one from Sheila said, are you available for another one at Robert Cooper?
Yes.
So is that a typo by Ms. Plessler, you think, or?
If it's Robert Cooper and posted, we'll meet here. It'll just be in a different setting than this room, so.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
this
that's
Thursday.
okay.
So this Thursday come here?
Yeah, this Thursday.
This Thursday is here.
All right.
Same time, 6
Yes.
Yeah, see, I have Robert Cooper.
Yeah, and they were correct.
At 6
Rick was
o'clock.
correct. He didn't catch that. I wrote it down wrong when I made my note, so.
We will stay with where they're set. And you can find it.
So tomorrow at 9 at Tams,
Yeah.
Thursday here at 6. That's what we have this week.
Right, and I have
And then next week.
curriculum.
Yeah, and other stuff,
and
yep.
Deal.
Okay, so next we would do contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.851C to discuss and potentially take action regarding the compensation of a teacher, and 19.821 and 19.851E regarding the discussion of teacher base wage negotiations for the 2025-2026 collective bargaining agreement with the Tomah Education Association. And then the board will reconvene in open session and may take further action regarding closed session business if necessary and appropriate, and or entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Question: can we sit in on the one?
you need to stay in for one, then exit on.
So we are okay to go to closed and
Yes.
then we will exit,
Yes, when we get to the base wage.
and then will we just hang and come back for any action that takes place in open regarding?
We'll do, first one where we take all 7 and get that one complete, and then we'll have.
So we're gonna go closed, open, open? Okay. Okay, so can I take a motion to go closed right now for the first item?
So moved.
Okay, we'll take roll call then.